Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss. Great to see you all filing in here. Great crowd filing in here. 712 in the Rumble chat to start the festivities. 580 strong over on YouTube. Thank you all very, very much for being here tonight. This is our second of a day-night doubleheader. We just streamed The People versus Nature by Kevin Augustine live from New York City with a special talk back featuring our friend Jimmy Dore over there. And we thank everybody who tuned in. That was a Rumble exclusive this afternoon. And now we are back here for the regular show. Now, Russ was filming downtown, and so he is on his way back. He will join the stream in progress, but we do have a special guest co-host with us tonight. You all know her, Sarcasm Stardust on Twitter, host of the Misty Winston Show, formerly on TNT Radio. She's everywhere. You all know her. Please welcome our friend, Misty Winston. Misty, great to see you again.
Hey, it's good to see you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Absolutely. Yes. It's always great to talk to you. I especially like having you on because you are probably the only person in this space more black-pilled than me. And so I get to play the role of the naive optimist when you are on the show.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I don't know. I think it was Carrie Wedler who said it recently, and apologies if it's somebody that is not Carrie, but she recently said that she doesn't see herself as, because she's also, I mean, what you would say is black-pilled. Right. I don't see it as black-pilled at all. I see it as, I think it's incredibly white-pilled to be aware of what's going on and, not be lost in the blind optimism and the pretending that you can do certain things or that you can change certain things with, all of that stuff. So, I mean, I just think to me, I don't see it as being black-pilled. I see it as just being a realist. And I would much rather just be realistic about where we're at than, try to pretend that it's something it's not, which we see a lot of, which I understand. There's a lot of coping happening. But,
well, yes. I mean, especially during a campaign season. So you must be as thrilled as I am that the campaign is over because you see that stuff just in overdrive during especially down the home stretch of a campaign where, especially in this example, people really felt this was an existential election, pardon me, on both sides. I mean, the Kamala people were convinced that the country was over if Trump won, and then the Trump people were convinced that the country was over if she had won. And I think that leads people to a place of cope, leads people to a place of thinking that, it's all on the line. And so you just have to go full bore behind one candidate. I know you don't dabble in electoral politics at all.
No.
So yeah, I mean, before we get to the stories, I mean, I've seen you kind of interact on Twitter, especially now with, Elon. After Elon endorsed Trump, I noticed you saw a lot more just MAGA diehards flood Twitter, where you noticed it. There was just a lot of hope for Donald Trump if he won. And then, obviously, I think these cabinet picks represent a sort of coming back down to earth for a lot of people.
Yeah, talk about cope, right? MAGA
Yeah.
is in a serious, I mean, the cope is so extreme right now. They are desperately trying to make excuses and justifications for why the likes of, Marco Rubio are being
Yeah.
included in the cabinet. So they are desperately coping right now. But I don't necessarily know that it was, we saw a lot of MAGA on Twitter because they were so excited about Trump. I think that was very much to do with Elon. I think that they're algorithmically, people are trying to pretend that he's this free speech warrior. And nothing pisses me off more as an actual free speech advocate, activist, and absolutist. It makes me incredibly angry to hear people talk about Elon Musk as if he is saving free speech when it's the furthest thing from the truth. He is absolutely still silencing and suppressing people, and he is absolutely still manipulating the algorithms. It's just now he's manipulating it for a different group of people. And so that's why we saw such an influx of MAGA on Twitter all of a sudden, is because those people are now being boosted thanks to one Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of truth to that. I joined Twitter very reluctantly. I kind of realized after I started doing this that was really where the action was. And just as a news app, there's nothing really more useful than that when you're looking for stories to cover and news that breaks. I mean, it breaks fastest and word spreads fastest on the app. So you kind of get hooked on it. But you have way more followers than I have. You've been on the platform for longer than I have. So I didn't really know what to think, down the home stretch of this campaign. But you seem to be saying that since Elon took over, the MAGA accounts have been boosted and like anti-Trump content is either suppressed or shadow banned. I mean, I certainly realize that this is not a pro-Trump show. It never has been. And so our following on that platform is not a pro-Trump following, generally speaking. But whenever I take a dig at Trump, it always does worse than when I bash the libs. Owning the libs does crazy numbers on Twitter, and criticizing Trump does almost nothing. I don't know if that's organic. I can't imagine that is.
No, well, and also when I criticize Elon, it's funny. If you go and look at there's a lot of criticism of Elon on my Twitter page for reasons I've just mentioned and others. But and anytime I criticize Trump and or Elon, some of those crypto bots or those financial advisor bots, it used to be the porn bots. Those seem to be directed at other tweets now. It feels as if he recognized that political Twitter was onto that game. And so they're still out there, but I think they've been directed elsewhere. But there's a whole bot network that they will, it really just deboosts whatever tweet they happen to be on. And so anytime I criticize Elon, one of those bots will comment on that tweet and it gets immediately deboosted. And nice. It's all very obvious. I mean, and Assange supporters can attest to this. What made it so frustrating for him to come out and everybody to claim that he was saving free speech? A, he still to this day has never spoken in defense of Julian Assange. And B, he took over Twitter and everybody's like, oh, you guys it's going to be so much easier for you. No, we were shadow banned even harder after Elon took over. And so Assange accounts all across the globe had a very difficult time following Elon's takeover of Twitter. It was always difficult for us, which we knew going into it. Assange is not an easy thing to get out there, or it wasn't anyway. But it became even worse after Elon took over. So yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's an incredibly obvious thing. But when you desperately want to believe that Elon's a good guy, it's, I think, a little bit more difficult for people to see through it.
Interesting. So you're saying those are bots that swarm those anti-Trump comments? Because I've noticed that too. I always assumed those were just closeted gay men who have a very sort of homoerotic fixation with the likes of Trump and Elon. But maybe they're bots. I mean, that would make sense. See, like I said, I'm just not a veteran of the app. I just haven't been on it long enough. Whereas I know you are a self-proclaimed Twitter addict of sorts. I know you've said that before on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. I mean, it gets addictive to the point where you really do have to discipline yourself to put it down and force yourself to stay away from the phone, especially, when you're in this space and you do this kind of stuff consistently. It's like you're constantly checking that, just like you would constantly
you feel like you have to.
You feel like you have to. Yeah,
you do. You feel like you have to be on top of it. You don't want to miss anything. You don't want to be late on anything. You want to make sure you're keeping up on everything. So it really does become something that I've gotten better at it. I used to be a lot worse, but I've gotten to the point now where I can step away for an entire weekend or at least 24 hours or whatever and just not look at it at all. And then there are times when, I'm on it constantly or whatever, but it's just become that thing that, if I'm sitting at the gym in between sets, I can check Twitter. It gives me my 2 to 3 minute break in between sets. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's just that thing that you can just pick up quickly, do a quick scroll and then bounce out. So it does become addictive. And I think that that's something, my friend Erin, people probably know her, eGalv, on Twitter. She's excellent. But we talk about it all the time where, we are proclaimed screen addicts, and it's something that we all need to work on, I think, because we are being programmed a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start out doing some material here. So, folks, the Pentagon failed its 7th audit in a row. And by 7th audit in a row, we mean 7th ever audit. They've never passed an audit. They started auditing the Pentagon in 2018, and it has never passed one. Unable to fully account for $824 billion budget. The Pentagon failed its 7th consecutive audit on Friday as the agency was unable to fully account for its massive $824 billion budget, though officials were confident the Department of Defense, quote, has turned a corner in understanding its budgetary challenges going forward. The audits resulted in a disclaimer of opinion, which means auditors were provided with insufficient information to form an accurate opinion of the accounts. But with the goal of achieving a clean audit by 2028, Michael McCord, Undersecretary of Defense and Chief Financial Officer, said the agency, quote, has turned a corner in its understanding of the depth and breadth of its challenges. Momentum is on our side, and throughout the department, there is strong commitment and belief in our ability to achieve an unmodified audit opinion, he said in a statement. The objective of earning an unmodified audit opinion is mandated by the National Defense Authorization Act. McCord told reporters at a briefing on Friday that he would not say that the agency failed, as it had about half clean opinions. So if someone had a report card that is half good and half not good, I don't know that you call the student or the report card a failure, he said. No, you do call that a failure.
You do.
50% is a failure. You have to get
that's
65 is a passing grade. Yeah, 65 is that's the borderline between what, a D and an F, right? I mean, my kids are in kindergarten. They don't have to worry about this quite yet. But yeah, that's the threshold. It's half. You get a 50 on a test. That's a fail. So Mario Nawfal tweets out, so the Pentagon misplaced $2.46 trillion for the 7th year in a row. The Pentagon has failed its financial audit, unable to account for 60% of its $4.1 trillion in assets. Yes, that's a staggering $2.46 trillion unaccounted for. If a private citizen failed even a few IRS audits, they likely face hefty fines and possible jail time for tax evasion. Yet despite repeated failures, the Department of Defense still receives its full $824 billion annual budget. Conducted by independent auditors and overseen by the DOD Inspector General, these audits costing $178 million and conducted by 1,700 auditors. The Hill is a source for that. And the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, which, by the way, has been monitoring the Pentagon since for many, many decades. And they started noticing that the Pentagon's books were crooked back in the early 80s. So they haven't done formal audits of the Pentagon. Those didn't start until 2018. But it's been long known that the Pentagon has not kept, shall we say, clean books. Elon Musk, head of the new fake agency, the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, comments one word, crazy. Now, we gave Elon some shit last week saying, hey, would they ever get to the bottom of Pentagon waste? But here, America tweets out, the Pentagon just failed its 7th audit in a row. Blah, blah, blah. Efficiency is coming. DOGE. So they tweeted at the new DOGE agency, and Elon says, sounds like a job for DOGE. So let's see what happens. Let's see if they stick to it. But one guy who just found out about this, and Elon retweeted this as well, your tax dollars could be spent better. Here's Joe Rogan finding out for the first time that the Pentagon can't pass an audit.
That's the rule. Always miss their audits.
Yes,
how many times did they miss their audits? The Pentagon.
Yeah, the Pentagon.
How many times? I think it's crazy numbers too. Like whoopsies.
Oops. I just forgot about that $300 billion.
Article in 2021 says they've never passed an audit.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So it's rules. It's rules for thee, not for me. They've never passed an audit.
There's never.
Yeah.
Come on, never.
Never.
The Pentagon's accounting records are so convoluted that billions of dollars cannot be accounted for, charges a new government report. Oh my God. That is so crazy. Never.
Yeah, and you'll go to jail if you don't pay these. You'll go to jail if you're not paying your taxes. You haven't survived an audit. And
funny. That's so funny.
Clips like that kind of make me reevaluate my choices. I try my best I mean, look, I don't claim to be a know-it-all, but I try my best to keep up to date on what's going on and the events of the world. And maybe I should have just inked up and shot testosterone up my ass, and then I could just come on and really not know anything until I read it on the podcast. I mean, that guy's just mastered the art of the average Joe, which, look, God bless him. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but man, he's got a great gig there. Gig there. Yeah.
Yes, he does.
So news to Joe Rogan that the Pentagon can't pass an audit. Would have been maybe something to bring up to Trump when he had him on the show.
Right. That's what makes me mad.
Yeah.
That's what makes me mad. It's not like he's Joe Rogan. And I get it. He's got a huge platform and people try to put a lot of, pressure on him or whatever that he needs to be this super intelligent guy that it's not his thing. It's never been his thing.
Right,
I mean,
right.
If you're going to, be privy to an interview with a former president who's currently running to be president, I feel like you should know these things. I mean, at least kind of know these things, or at least be aware and able to question them, because you're right. That would have been a super amazing thing for him to ask Donald Trump about. Not that he would have, because I mean, that was a softball interview if I've ever seen one, but
sure.
Or
even Elon. I mean, he had Elon on pretty recently too. And this is the thing, I find it's a lot of these libertarian bro types are very often the last people to learn the most important thing they should know, which is one of the things that we said, is this DOGE office going to investigate the Pentagon, which can't pass an audit? And it was just kind of funny timing that they announced the creation of this agency a week before the Pentagon came up for audit again. And so this report came out that they failed the audit just a few days after they announced the creation of the DOGE agency. And so now, thankfully, because the timing lined up, people made some noise about it, and now they're saying that they'll look into it. I would love to get a commitment from DOGE not to slash a dime of social spending until the Pentagon can pass an audit. I think if they make it as their plan, I will take back all the shit I said about them if they say, you know what, our number one priority as an organization, because it expires July 4th, 2026. It's not going to go the full term. They have a little under 2 years. In a little under 2 years, we're going to get the Pentagon to pass an audit. We promise we will get the Pentagon to pass an audit in November of 2026. If they do that, I will put a Tesla decal as the backdrop for this show, and I'll wear a Tesla hat for an entire live stream. If they're
not going to do that, though.
Yeah.
Well,
that's my offer to them. That's my offer to them. Yeah.
I will too. Listen, I'll run around with some Tesla gear on for sure. They're not going to do that, though. I mean, the fact that Elon tweets it out, crazy. He does that all the time. He tweets out these ridiculous things with single word, interesting, crazy, weird. He does that all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, this is a guy who has numerous very lucrative contracts with the military-industrial complex. I don't think he's all that concerned. You know what I'm saying? Somebody tweeted out earlier today that the libs love war. And he, again, tweeted out single word, true. And I'm like, my guy, you make billions of dollars a year from war. Please stop talking. You know what I mean? He's such a hypocrite. But yeah, they're not going to do that. I think you're safe.
Okay. All right. Well, the offer's out there. We can have the due dissidence DOGE challenge. I will humiliate myself if they announce that they make it a goal of theirs to get the Pentagon to pass an audit. And honestly, look, these tweets are more than I expected. And look, I'm a fair-minded guy. I would love to see them do that. If they do that, I would give them all the credit in the world for doing that. I think, and Russell and I talked about this, I think they're going to basically use DOGE as a way to sort of dunk on libs for ridiculous things. Like there's some person tweeted at them, oh, there's a gender studies program in Pakistan that they'll slash as a way to own the libs. That's what it seems like. But if they look, that tweet is honestly more than I expected out of them. I think a lot of that has to do with the coincidence of the timing, the fact that they just happened to announce this agency's formation right before the Pentagon failed an audit. But that's my challenge. That's my offer. I will humiliate myself for Elon if they get the Pentagon to pass an audit.
A lot of people have also been tweeting at them that is something that they need to be doing. Is if you're going, I mean, I tweeted about it very soon after the so-called whatever it is department was announced, and I was like, listen, if you're talking about government efficiency and your first target isn't the Pentagon, you're deeply unserious. You are deeply unserious. That is it right there. That, I mean, if you so much of government inefficiency starts with the Pentagon. But I don't think that they're going to do that at all. Definitely not.
We will see, because I think, what an agency like that is designed to do, it's designed to give what are basically just old-fashioned Reaganomics, this sort of hip, new sort of branding. Like, austerity is now cool again. It's punk rock again. It's very old-fashioned. Like, their whole ethos that the government is inefficient and we have to slash all these programs and cut all of these, government jobs. There's nothing like new or hip or cool about that. Like, conservatives have been saying that forever. But I don't know. I mean, this gives it sort of like a new sort of tech bro paint job on what are essentially very old ideas. And I'm not saying that they won't find ridiculous things that the government wastes money on. Of course, we know the government wastes a lot of money on a lot of things. But it's a drop in the bucket compared to this. And not only is this wasteful, there's obvious fraud, there's obvious profiteering, there's obvious looking the other way at programs that we know are wasteful, weapon systems that we know are obsolete, but that companies like Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing get paid a lot of money anyway from. And so that's why this never gets investigated. And if they're going to turn over those stones, are they going to crack down on those companies? Elon's company being potentially one of them. That's the other thing. You have a potential conflict.
There's a huge conflict of interest. The idea that this guy was given a position in government, given the fact that he has so many, again, very lucrative contracts with multiple different departments in the government is astonishing to me. It's not really astonishing, I guess. It's par for the course, but it is kind of crazy that it's happening out in the open and everybody just seems to be cool with it. But that's just, it's become so commonplace that people are numb to it and we expect that level of corruption. And so a little more of it is, I think everybody's just like, okay, sure. Ho-hum.
Yeah, I agree. Indeed. All right, let's take a few super chats here. We got some Rumble Ranch. Jake is in the booth tonight, everybody. Round of applause for Jake. Amadeus says, the minute Israel stops being useful, the right will be calling them Christ killers again. Quote me on that. Thank you, Amadeus. Amadeus also says, I have sympathy for what will happen to the libs and cons when the dollar collapses. Oh, zero sympathy. I'm sorry. You have zero sympathy for what will happen to the libs and cons when the dollar collapses. If history is any indicator, it's going to be awful. Britsman says, Russ, do a tour of NYC's finest ladies of the night. Maybe that's where he is now. Jax Page. Hey, Jax, thanks for the $5. Been looking forward to this all day. 2 of my faves in one stream. Gotta love it. Thank you, Jax. That's very kind of you to say. JM, thanks for the thumbs up and the $2. Michael Castillo, thanks for the $10. Good evening, gentlemen. And I would like to ask the two of you, what are your favorite Quentin Tarantino movies? Interesting. Well, I'll remember to ask that to Russ when he gets here. But Misty, you can feel free to answer that if you'd like as well.
I'm sorry. What was it? What was
favorite Tarantino movies?
Oh, I'm not really a big movie watcher, to be honest. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's Pulp Fiction. I know that's a boring one, but that's just an amazing movie. I mean, there are certain sequences in that movie. The overdose sequence alone is just that's movie Hall of Fame material. And so I know that's a boring
ADHD.
pick.
No, I have severe ADHD, so movies are hard for me.
Yeah, the long form stuff can be hard. Yeah,
it has to grab me in like the first 30 seconds, or I'm out.
It's funny. I have ADHD too, and it never really affected my movie watching experience. Although now I feel like in like the age of streaming and like instantly available content, I feel like it does. Like I feel like I I mean, partly is because I have 3 young kids, so it's hard for me to find time to watch a movie.
Yeah.
And I know you're a parent too, so that makes it a little harder. But yeah, now I generally am like very conscious of the run time of a movie, like before I start it. Like if it's an hour and 45 minutes or shorter, that's a major selling point for me.
Yeah.
Like,
and I like horror. The horror
movie.
genre is my favorite, and horror movies are typically pretty short. They're usually around that hour and a half ish. So yeah, that always works out for me. If you ask me my favorite horror movie, I could go on a whole ass tangent, but I'm not real up to par on Tarantino stuff, to be honest.
Nice. Plus, big. I don't know if he's a Zionist, but he married an Israeli, so he's been to Israel and done photos.
Is he the guy with the foot fetish?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's him.
Okay.
Yeah, that's him.
All right. Sorry.
It's okay. Krasinski Basane, thanks for the $9.99. Appreciate that very much. Thank you, sir. D. Wortham, Trump vote total went up by about 2.2 million over 2020, but Harris was down by 7.5 million from Biden in 2020. So Trump's win was probably more or at least equal from non-lesser evil non-voting than gains by Trump. Yeah. Trump did not surpass his 2020 vote total. It was a lower turnout year. But yeah, Kamala obviously tanked.
Shit the bed, she did.
That's right. Ken Texican, thanks for the $50. Cowbell bounty for used dissidents to take no prisoners. Have a killer show. Thank you, Ken Texican. We are without the cowbell because we are without Russell for now, but I can give you a virtual cowbell. How's that?
We need more cowbell.
Cowbell, very kind of you. Wendy Melly, thanks for the $10. Misty always keeps it real, whether you like it or not. Thank you for having
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
There you go. You should. Okay. So, Misty, this next story I actually got from you because you tweeted about this. This is about
this makes me mad.
Yeah. The quote-unquote recovery effort after Hurricane Helene. So, Brian Enton, who's been sort of on this beat, tweets out here, imagine losing everything, house, car, job, then having to pay $130 a month for a porta potty so your family has somewhere to use the bathroom. Yes, that's true. My report only scratches the surface of the suffering since Hurricane Helene hit North Carolina. It's getting cold. People are in tents. So we're going to play this report. This is a really good video by News Nation, credit where it's due. And you'll see a lot of stuff that makes your blood boil pretty hot.
Down here on the ground and see it for yourself. It's hard to believe just how devastated this area still is. In Asheville, they still don't have drinkable water. In towns like Swannanoa, where we are, it's just still a total mess. 100,000 people, that's just the estimate, either had very badly damaged or destroyed homes. And we found coming here that many of them still have nowhere to go. Driving around the outskirts of Asheville, it's hard to decide where to even begin. There's just so much hurricane damage, literally everywhere you look. I got a message on X from a woman named Sarah. I want to show you. It says, "Hi, I'm in Swannanoa, North Carolina, one of the hardest hit towns. We lost our home due to the hurricane. We're getting barely any help."
Nice to meet you.
I met Sarah outside the trailer she's living in with her husband, 2 kids, 2 cats, and 2 dogs. Like almost everyone here, their home was destroyed and condemned, and they also lost their cars and their jobs.
Everybody that I've talked to says they're getting no help.
Their trailer was donated by a volunteer, not FEMA, and they have to pay for their own porta potty.
I had to rent this so that we would even be able to use the bathroom.
So you have to pay for that yourself?
Yes. Yeah, it's $130 a month to rent one.
Sarah's one hope was U.S. Small Business Administration disaster loan. But then she got this voicemail.
This is a call from the U.S. Small Business Administration about your SBA disaster loan application. Due to a lapse in congressional funds, new loan offers will be delayed until Congress provides additional funding for the disaster loan program. We understand how frustrating this delay is.
What did you think when you...
I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, we'll pause it right there for a minute. Go ahead.
No, I'm just like, my blood is boiling on the inside because, first of all, it's a stupid automated voicemail. Like, they couldn't, a human being couldn't even bother to call her to tell her that, hey, we're fucking you over. But they're fucking them over. I mean, this is, and it's so infuriating to me on so many different levels. But watching as we shovel billions of dollars to the cokehead and the genocide heir It makes me so fucking angry because these are, and I'm not like a big America First patriot type person, but these are American fucking citizens whose lives have been completely devastated, and we have nothing for them, but we can send billions of unaccountable dollars to neo-Nazis in Ukraine. It makes me so angry. And the idea that we aren't in the streets about this, that people aren't completely infuriated by this, and there aren't, rallies taking place, and it blows my mind. It blows my mind that nobody seems to care that this is how we are conducting our business in this country. Nobody's really talking about it at all. People have completely forgot about North Carolina. They've completely forgot about Lahaina in Hawaii. They've completely forgot about East Palestine, which is still suffering the effects of that train derailment. This kind of stuff happens. It's in the news for a few weeks, and then everybody forgets and goes about their business as usual, and it's happening again, and it makes me very angry. Sorry, rant over.
No, that's why you're here. I found this story, like I said, on your feed, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do it with you here, because you're right. And the slap in the face that to the American citizen, especially people who are suffering like this now, that billions are going out the door to Ukraine and Israel, did have an impact on the vote. Like, this was something that a lot of swing voters were influenced by. The fact that, there is such broad-based suffering here, while at the same time there's this seemingly endless supply of funds to agitate for World War III, which, according to our next segment, as we'll see coming up soon, seems in a way like it was almost averted, but now we might be closer to that than we ever were before. And the crime of that in the minds of the average person, I think, really does stand out. I think it really was a big factor in just driving home just how indifferent this administration is to its own people. I mean, when you have a blank check for Ukraine and you have this going on, and, we talked about the DOGE, the Government Efficiency Agency, it's easy to look at this and say, well, look at all this money we put into FEMA and look at the results. Well, is this an example of waste on FEMA's part, or is this an example of them being underfunded? Because as we're going to see, they don't have the money, they say, to get people through this. So maybe less money to Ukraine, less money for the Pentagon, and maybe more money for FEMA, with oversight, obviously, because you don't put it past these scumbags to just waste money. They obviously have no care in the world for people. Well, you're telling me they couldn't staff someone to receive phone calls? Yeah, that's the phone call you get, an automated call saying, we're sorry, there's essentially nothing we can do, look elsewhere. Anything else? We're gonna let this play out.
No, it's just, you're right. It's so impersonal for it to be an automated message that these people are getting. And FEMA sucks. Like, listen, there needs to be a complete overhaul. There's no, Hurricane Katrina is a great example of how bad FEMA sucks. But the idea, again, that we are seemingly fine with sending billions of dollars to blow people up in other countries. And then we want to wring our hands and clutch our pearls about, well, how are we going to pay for that when it comes to helping Americans? It infuriates me.
Yeah.
And shout out to Brian Enton, by the way. I don't watch a ton of News Nation, but I watch a lot of true crime stuff and follow a lot of those cases. And he actually does a lot of true crime coverage. But then he has also been doing a really great job on the North Carolina stuff as well.
Yeah, no, this is a really good piece. And there's more. So here, let's play the rest.
You heard that?
I'll back this up to the end of the phone call.
Funds. New loan offers will be delayed until Congress provides additional funding for the disaster loan program. We understand how frustrating this delay is.
What did you think when you heard that?
It's been, we already have it so rough, and to not be able to get the financial and, help that we need it's really awful.
Some just down the road have it even more awful, living in tents and small RVs with no power as winter approaches and temperatures now dip into the 30s.
There's times we don't get fresh meat because there's no way to keep it cold. Because you got to choose between heating the house with a generator, especially the ones who have kids, and keeping the food cold.
Wintertime's coming. These folks cannot be forgot about. Just because you don't see this on TV It don't just go away. This is not going to go away for a long time. We got to get those folks out of those tents and in those FEMA campers. How's it going to happen?
A lot of the locals I've spoken to are particularly upset about a FEMA compound they say is much nicer than the donated trailers that they are staying in. It's hard to see, but this right here, I'm going to slow down, is the entrance to the compound. There's a lot of security. The public can't go in. We drove up onto a hill behind the compound for a better view, and you see how massive it is. A sea of government trailers. It's so organized and secure, so different from how the people we met are living here.
FEMA's not connecting with the county's not connecting with the state, and you got this big rat race.
Volunteers like combat veteran Robbie Ammons say housing is the biggest issue, and red tape. Families left in tents and RVs because of the permitting process, he says.
Next week, temperatures are going to start getting in the 30s at night. We're afraid of more hypothermia, folks that are living in the mountains, and there's probably going to be more bodies laying around if we don't start getting these people in some level of temporary housing.
The cold really is the big concern here, Elizabeth. That woman in the piece who played the voicemail, we reached out. She was trying to get that disaster loan. We reached out to the SBA. They said they did run out of money on October 15th. They're trying to work with Congress to get more funding. Her situation is desperate. She has to bundle her little kids up to take them out to that porta potty when they have to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. And she was offered some rental assistance from FEMA, but she says there's nowhere to rent. Everything is destroyed, or the few places are too expensive, or they won't take a bunch of kids and dogs and cats and the animals she has, and she doesn't want to move 2 hours away. So it's a real mess out here, Elizabeth.
Yep, a real mess indeed. I asked FEMA for an interview today, so this was 3 days ago on the 14th, but was told we have limited availability due to our ongoing response. They asked me to send a list of questions, which I did. I will post the answers when I get a response. So he then posts the next day, Hurricane Helene victims in Western North Carolina are receiving automated calls from the U.S. Small Business Administration telling them their disaster loans are delayed due to a lapse in congressional funds. The automated voice says, we understand how frustrating this is. That video was part of the longer report that we just played, so we won't play that again, but he cites that the following day. He also posts on that thread, this is the statement I received from the SBA that says, as of October 15th, 2024, the SBA exhausted funds for its disaster loan program and is working closely with Congress to secure the resources needed to restore full support. So this is the statement that he links to in that tweet. The SBA understands that accessing financial support is critical as the communities affected by Hurricane Helene work to rebuild and recover, and stands by that commitment. As of October 15th, the SBA exhausted funds for its disaster loan program and is working closely with Congress to secure the resources needed to restore full support as quickly as possible. Without additional funding from Congress, the SBA cannot make new offers for its direct, low-interest, long-term disaster loans to survivors. Despite this funding lapse, the SBA disaster loan application remains open for homeowners, renters, small businesses, and nonprofits impacted by the hurricane. The SBA is encouraging all those impacted to apply immediately directly via lending.sba.gov so they can receive funding as soon as possible once Congress appropriates funding. The SBA is actively processing loan applications and queuing approved applications for loan offers as soon as additional congressional funding becomes available. While awaiting this funding from Congress, the SBA encourages homeowners and renters to explore other possible resources, including FEMA assistance, which, by registering at disasterassistance.gov for business owners, SBA's local district offices and resource partners offer free counseling, that's nice, and training services designed to help reopen, rebuild, and strengthen businesses during this challenging time. So he finally hears back from FEMA, and by hears back, he means they are not available for an interview. He says they were unable to do an interview because they have limited availability due to our ongoing response, but they answered these questions in an email. We won't read all of this. This is mostly just word salad. Do you know how many people are homeless from Helene in Western North Carolina? That was one of Brian's questions. The answer, please refer to the state for this information as they are better suited to assist you. How many people are receiving assistance from FEMA and what kind of assistance? As of November 14th, FEMA has approved $231 million for more than 131,000 households and individuals for home repairs, rental assistance, and other needs assistance. FEMA has also obligated $203 million in public assistance funding in North Carolina to support community recovery, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot more here. Obviously, we won't read all of that. I don't want to give the impression, Brian says, that no one is helping the hurricane victims. I also saw so many nonprofit groups while I was in there. I met regular people from other states who drove campers down to donate. At night, I found several free food giveaways and free hot meal food trucks. You, like I said, Misty, brought this to my attention, and we're still shoveling money to the cokehead and the genocide heir. We are a shithole country. Yeah.
I stand by that statement. People get mad when I call it a shithole country. Is there anything more shithole than what we discovered? I can't think of anything more shithole. And again, what's so frustrating about all of this is that when Zelensky calls up and wants, another gazillion dollars, there's no hand wringing. There's no, we're working with Congress to appropriate funds and we're blah, blah. No, it's out the door before he can even finish the question. But people who have been, their lives have been devastated, American citizens, children, women, nobody cares. It's just like, oh, fuck you, you're on your own. And I'm glad that he called attention to, the nonprofits and the regular ass people, the neighbors helping neighbors. That's what it is right now in North Carolina. It is neighbors helping neighbors, which, in the midst of all of this depravity and really depressing, this depressing show of negligence, that does give me some hope because, and it sucks that it takes something like this. We've seen it many times in this country after 9/11, after Hurricane Katrina, when people really do rally together. And I think that that's beautiful. It sucks that it takes a natural disaster for us to behave in that way. It'd be cool if we could do that all the time. But and what I think is great, and this is happening in, an election year when things are very divided. And I don't know that I've ever seen an election year so, just emotionally off the charts and people freaking out at each other and all of that stuff. But it's not like, I saw a video when the flooding was happening and a guy literally risked his life jumping into raging water to save a neighbor. And he didn't ask, hey, who are you voting for before he did that, right? He didn't care. Nobody cares. When you're in this situation, you don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. You don't care who you voted for. You don't care where you stand on abortion or anything. You're just neighbors helping neighbors. And so as somebody who is generally a very cynical human being, I will be uncharacteristically positive here and say that is, I think, a very beautiful thing that we're witnessing. It's frustrating that it takes something like this for us to act like that. And it's also sad that it's required of us when it shouldn't be that way. These people should be getting all of the help that they need immediately without any hand wringing or questions. It should just be done. But I think that is something positive that we can hold on to.
Yes. No, I think so too. I think you have seen, people step up. But when you look at these figures, when you look at the numbers that FEMA gave here, like $231 million, that is a drop in the bucket compared to, say, this. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announces every dollar we have at our disposal will be pushed to Ukraine between now and January 20th when Trump takes office. So they don't want World War III to fizzle out without a fight. Here's Antony Blinken.
We're working to make sure that Ukraine has what it needs to effectively defend itself. The United States continues to step up. We've obligated just recently and pushed out the door another $8 billion in security assistance for Ukraine. That was in September. Another almost $500 million just a few weeks ago. And President Biden is committed to making sure that every dollar we have at our disposal will be pushed out the door between now and January 20th.
He's bragging about it. Motherfucker is bragging about it. We're sending another $8 billion. Meanwhile, there are North Carolinians who are going to freeze to death because we can't be bothered.
Yeah, and North Carolina's a swing state too, and that didn't help. Wonder why they lost North Carolina. That stuff does make a difference. That kind of stuff is just, it's so insulting. It's intolerable to people.
Yeah, insulting's not even a big enough word.
Yeah.
It's just not. I mean, I don't. Maybe I'm overreacting because I feel like my blood boils when I hear this shit. And I know that there are other people who feel similarly, but I feel like I live in crazy land where people are fine with $8 billion being sent to Ukraine to fight a proxy war that we started and to sacrifice more Ukrainian men and some women on the altar of Western imperialism while North Carolinians freeze to death. And that I feel like I live in the upside down. Like, what is happening? Where people are just okay with that being what we do. It's just weird.
Yeah, no, it is. And you know, the fact that this issue has kind of been backgrounded. I mean, obviously there have been a lot of national stories that have eaten up the headlines, but you know, the fact that you're still dealing with people who are displaced and not getting the help we need now as of like mid-November. I mean, this happened. What, this happened like a month ago? I mean, this happened a long time ago at this point. And so, yeah, I mean, it's such an embarrassment. I mean, this is why I say, and like I said, it's always good to have someone here. And I agree, we are not black-pilled, but that is how we are at least perceived in the minds of a lot of people.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, this is when I talk about the demise of America, I'm talking about the demise of America as an imperial entity, as a relevant political entity on the world stage, because this is just classic end of empire shit. When, you know, you have money going out the door to maintain the empire in its dying days, as disaster strikes here at home, and you have people can't even get a person on the phone to get what they need to get out of this temporary trailer. I mean, it's just like, if that doesn't tell you that we are undergoing an imperial collapse, if not a civilizational collapse, then I don't know what does. I mean, that's about as strong a symptom I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we don't have historical reference for this. Other empires have collapsed. The thing that really terrifies me, though, is that we've never seen an empire as large and, more importantly, as heavily armed as the United States collapse. And I think that is what people need to be monumentally concerned with, because, as we're about to discuss shortly, that could be really bad for everybody. So,
well, especially you have to consider like who we would be passing the ball to. Like, when the British Empire folded, they passed the ball to us, and we were on the same side as they were in World War II, so they didn't feel as threatened by that shift. Whereas this, I mean, you know, the rival imperial power is China, and they're really like, you know, these guys, like Anthony Blinken's not going to be too keen to give that power up, and as we know, given the events of the past 2 years, vis-a-vis Russia, Ukraine, and especially the events of the last 7 or 8 hours, they will just lash out violently when they feel like it's all going to hell. And I think that's what they're doing now.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. I'm going to read some super chats and some Rumble rants. We did get some comments in the chat. The concert next door is getting a little loud. I don't know if there is anything you can do about that.
My kid?
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll yell at her. I apologize, everybody. My kid's right up there watching a movie, and she likes to sing along. So I'll yell at her. Hold, please. Go ahead and read super chats. I'll yell.
See if she's okay to hum along. She can hum or whistle. There we go. All right. All right. Here we go. Durin. Okay. The same folks who said Trump was going to jail, that the normies would never vote for him, are now saying they know Trump is going to war. Well, as you will see in just a second, it is now going to be seemingly up to Donald Trump to stop that. And that is sort of the position we are in. We are sort of in a place to hope that maybe he intervenes as president-elect in advance of being sworn in. We know he's already talked to Putin. We know he's already talked to Zelensky. We know he has said he would like to talk to Putin before being sworn in to try and broker some sort of deal. We are in pretty desperate need of a de-escalatory move right now. Not something that could wait until January, in my opinion. Okay. Thank you, Misty.
Hopefully she'll be quiet.
Tell your kid I'm sorry on my behalf. I don't mean to.
No, it's fine. She just has no volume control whatsoever. So it's just, and she loves to sing, so it's hard to get her to chill out. So my apologies to everyone.
No, my apologies to her. I don't mean to impose on her singing time for sure.
She can go sing upstairs, Keaton.
That's true.
We
Okay.
have a house. We have a whole
Okay.
house. She can go sing.
There you go. Awesome. Denomoto, thanks for the $5. She wants Elon. Thanks for the Eric Maines $5. Hey, JB, since you're out of office anyway, Joe Biden, let's see what happens if we let some long rangers to hit Vlad's hacienda. That's right, the shiny red button. Did you see, Misty, the tweet of he was in the Amazon rainforest today, apparently?
Yes.
You see the video of him like ending his
They
speech
just
and just
let him
wandering
wander
off into the rainforest?
Just let him cook. Let him go.
Yeah,
let him wander off. It'll be
Snake
fine.
swoops out of a tree and grabs him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he walks away from the podium. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Henry DeShazzo. Hey, Keaton, thanks for the T-shirt. I love it. Oh, glad it got to you, Henry. Yeah, we just switched merch vendors. Now we have RBN's merch vendor, which is Bonfire. So those much more reliable shipping for merch now. I love it. It's really awesome to see Misty on the show. I wouldn't have known except for Jax's tweet. It's my birthday. Oh, well, happy birthday,
Happy
Henry.
birthday. And shout out to Jax. Nobody supports independent media more than Jax.
That's right. Jax is the best. Absolutely.
Yeah.
James Turner says Tarantino says takes group pics with IDF soldiers. Yep, that's what I said. Yep, I did mention that. That sucks. It's a real heartbreaker. I grew up a movie geek. I love his movies. Michael Castillo for $10 said, "What's your favorite horror movies?" I grew up with Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger. There's a question for you, Misty. Favorite horror movies? I mean, it's probably a hard one to answer.
It is a hard one, but for sure, Nightmare on Elm Street. That was kind of my. I grew up in the '80s, and my mom was also into horror movies, and so I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street at like 7 or 8 years old, which you definitely couldn't get away with these days. You would probably get a visit from CPS. But yeah, that was probably like my first intro. But I like all the classics are good. I mean, Halloween. Not really a big fan of like Friday the 13th. I'm not really a slasher fan, and I'm not super into like the hardcore gore ones. Like the original Saw's good. The rest of the Saw movies are just gore porn.
Right.
I do kind of like the Terrifier series just because Art the Clown is pretty funny.
Did you see the new one?
I did. I took my kid, actually. My kid's also a horror movie fan. So
oh wow.
Yeah, so we both love Art the Clown. So it was pretty intense though. I would not recommend it if you're not like ready for gore.
Yeah, that's what
it's very gory. Yeah, it's very gory.
That's what
But I could do like a whole 2-hour show on horror movies. Like
yeah. Oh no, I'm a fan of the genre too. I'm trying to think of any recent ones that I've seen that I've liked a lot.
Ugh, recent ones are terrible.
Yeah.
The Conjuring stuff's not bad.
The Conjuring stuff was actually The Conjuring stuff
pretty
was
good.
good. Yeah. And a couple of the Insidious movies were pretty good too.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I really loved, and it wasn't a movie, but it was the Haunting of Hill House miniseries.
Oh,
that was amazing. I mean, that
so
was
good, Keaton.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good. I shouldn't spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen it, but the bent neck lady, the reveal.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, that was. My mouth dropped open, and that rarely happens for me. Like I'm usually pretty perceptive, and I can pick up like those little plot twist thingies and all of that stuff. And I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, no, there were so many great episodes and moments in that series. The funeral
Have
episode.
you watched
with the real
Bly
long
Manor?
take.
Yeah.
Bly Manor was good. It wasn't as good.
Not as
feel
good,
like
but it was still
he
good.
never hit that mark. Like
No.
even the Mike Flanagan we're talking about, his follow-ups. He's never hit that mark. Like I didn't love the House of Usher one.
No.
I didn't love the Midnight Club one.
No.
It was okay. Midnight Mass was very good until the end. I thought it kind of the thing about Midnight Mass was you could tell he really read his own press. Like he just started putting in these long monologues for their own sake. And it's not that they weren't good. Like a lot of the monologuing in like Hill House and Bly Manor was good, but like did we need 6 minutes about the guy being a cop on 9/11 to make that one point, whatever it was? Like, no,
no.
That just kind of dragged toward the end, but it was still very good. But yeah, nothing hit the Haunting of Hill House peak.
Yeah, if you haven't seen The Haunting of Hill House, you absolutely have to go watch it. It's not, it's not like gore. It's very much psychological, family kind of driven, like the family dynamic driven. It's so good. Oh, I cannot sing the praises of that enough. It is brilliant.
Yeah, no, it was really good. That's like one of the best things I've seen in movies or TV in the last 10 years. It really is, without exaggeration.
For sure. Yeah.
Posmo says Biden fixing to start World War III. Yep, looks that way. Amadeus says this hurricane is exactly what I am talking about when I said no sympathy for libs and conservatives. All right, Russell's going to come on in a few minutes, so we will try and read these super chats before we start the next segment, so he's fresh at the top of it. Mark Pugliese, thanks for the $5. Somebody needs to conduct and publish national opinion polls on each of Trump's appointments. There you go. Snorky, I'm sorry. I thought it was Sparky. My eyes are trained to see Sparky. Snorky, Y2K. When two of my students tried the red light method, one went non-ADHD and the other turned into Einstein. Nina can't. We can't raise taxes on the corporations because they'll just leave the country. Horse crap, they're getting a sweet deal here, even if they're taxed higher. Dan Richmond. Hi, I'm 75 miles from Helene landfall in Florida. Devastation in this area, but power was restored to most in 2 weeks. Seems North Carolina government is also failing its citizens. Credit where it's due. Florida government did great. There you go, Dan. Dan was able to make it up for the Iron Maiden concert, so it couldn't have been that bad for you. Although Dan is now living in an RV while his house gets built, as I remember. Okay. Let's go here. Miserable lib. I feel your rage, Misty. Those scumbags in Congress couldn't dare let money run out for the genocide in Israel and the clusterfuck in Ukraine. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. All right. We will start this next segment here, looks like, and then Russell will probably join us in progress for this one. All right. So, folks, you may notice in the thumbnail of this live stream that Zelenskyy was looking forward to perhaps ending the war sooner than had Kamala Harris won, since Donald Trump is to be sworn in January 20th. So this is going to be a story in chronological order here. We're going to take a trip back in time to a more innocent era, meaning 10 hours ago. Zelenskyy says war will end sooner with Trump as president. That's right. Things were looking so good. What happened? Okay, so like I said, back in time a bit, folks. Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, says he is certain the war with Russia will end sooner than it otherwise would have once Donald Trump becomes U.S. president. Zelensky said he had a constructive exchange with Trump during their phone conversation after his victory in the U.S. presidential election. He did not say whether Trump had made any demands regarding possible talks with Russia, but said he'd not heard anything from him that was contrary to Ukraine's position. Trump has consistently said his priority is to end the war, which began with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, and what he describes as a drain on U.S. resources in the form of military aid to Kyiv. Earlier this year, the U.S. House of Representatives approved a $61 billion military aid package. The U.S. has been the greatest supplier of arms to Ukraine. Between the start of the war and the end of June 2024, it delivered or committed to send weapons and equipment worth $55.5 billion, according to the Kiel Institute for the World Economy, a German research organization. But domestically, support for arming Ukraine appears to have waned somewhat since the war began, particularly among Republican voters who Trump successfully courted. During the U.S. election campaign, the former president turned president-elect repeatedly pledged to end the war in a day, quote unquote, but has yet to divulge how he intends to do so. It is certain that the war will end sooner with the policies of the team that will now lead the White House. This is their approach, their promise to their citizens, Zelenskyy said in an interview with the Ukrainian media outlet Suspilin, whatever that is. Here's a radio interview. We'll show you where he makes this sentiment known.
Ми повинні зробити все, щоб у наступному році ця війна закінчилась. Дипломатичними шляхами. З політикою цієї команди, яка зараз очолить Білий дім, війна закінчиться швидше. Ми будемо робити все, що від нас залежить. У нас була з ним дуже хороша зустріч, реально, в вересні. Я серйозно, як президент України, буду ставитись до розмови тільки з президентом Сполучених Штатів Америки. При всій повазі до будь-якого оточення, будь-яких людей.
So, the article continues. He added that Ukraine must do everything so that this war ends next year, ends through diplomatic means, with Russian forces making advances on the battlefield. The front lines of the war have largely stagnated since Ukraine's much-anticipated counteroffensive in 2023, failed to make the sweeping territorial gains it had aimed to. Russian forces occupy entrenched positions in the east and southeast of the country, with fighting predominantly taking place in the eastern Donbass region. On Friday, Russian forces made incremental advances along the eastern front line, with significant fighting taking place around the northeastern city of Kupiansk and Volodymyr in the southeast, according to the Institute for the Study of War, a Washington, D.C.-based think tank. Russian infantry also continued a limited offensive into the northeastern Kharkiv region from the Russian border, the ISW said, citing Ukrainian military sources in the region. In an apparent bid to stem the Russian advances, Ukrainian forces launched a breakout offensive into Russia's Kursk region over the summer, becoming the first to occupy Russian territory since World War II. Zelensky has said the operation's goal was to divert Russian troops away from the front lines in Ukraine, though it is unclear whether it has achieved this. Russia has been able to draw on hundreds of thousands of conscripts to bolster its ranks, while Ukraine's much smaller army has relied on advanced Western-supplied weaponry. Hey, Russell.
What's up?
The renewed emphasis on a diplomatic solution comes amid concerns among growing fatigue over the war, both within Ukraine and abroad. However, what such a solution may look like remains unclear. Zelensky has continually refused to cede any Ukrainian territory, including Crimea, which Russia has occupied since 2014. Trump and Zelensky have long had a tumultuous relationship. Trump was impeached in 2019 over accusations that he pressured Zelensky to dig up damaging information on the family of President Joe Biden. Despite years of differences, Trump has insisted he had a very good relationship with Zelensky. When the pair met in New York in September, Trump said he learned a lot from the meeting and said he would get the war resolved very quickly. Okay, so that article, along with that first piece of sound from Zelensky, seemed promising. Zelensky also said in that same interview, though, that we, meaning Ukraine, of course, are an independent country. And in this piece of sound, he seems more defiant than he did just a moment ago.
Сильна Україна. Вона повинна бути сильною для будь-якої дипломатії. Хочу ще раз це підкреслити.
Але США не лише потенційний посередник в переговорах, це країна, яка надає величезні обсяги допомоги Україні і яка може спонукати нас до того, щоб ми сіли за стіл переговорів. Який меседж ви отримали від Дональда Трампа під час тих контактів, які у вас з ним були? Тобто він, як він каже? Він каже, я стану президентом і сідайте за стіл переговорів. Як це виглядає?
Я думаю, що він так не каже. Ми незалежна Україна, і мені здається, в час цієї війни наш народ, і я особисто в перемовинах зі Сполученими Штатами Америки і з Трампом, і з Байденом, і з іншими європейськими лідерами довели, що з нами риторика «сідай і слухай» не працюючи. І це не через те, що ми такі, а через те, що так ми повинні відноситись, в принципі, до будь-якої країни, будь-якого народу, будь-якого лідера. Поважати. Це, в принципі, рівність, одна з цих цінностей, за які ми боремося сьогодні.
All right, so that was
Where the fuck do you get the balls?
Hi, Ross.
What's up, Misty? How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. Bodega coffee. It's been a while.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah. Rushed home.
You know you're in for the bodega coffee when there's a homeless guy screaming at the counter guy to give him something for free while you're ordering the coffee. I was like, wow, it's been a while, man. It's been a while. Since I quit smoking, I'm not in these joints all that much.
Nice.
So,
good job quitting smoking, by the way, though.
Oh yeah, no, that's a
Thank
bitch.
you.
I mean, I don't know from experience, but yeah,
I
that's
do.
what I've heard.
I quit. It'll be 18 years in May.
Wow, awesome. There you go.
18 years.
Yeah.
It will be 4 years in May. Also in May. In May.
Nice.
Spring.
May 11th for me.
New beginning.
My...
Ah, look at that. Remember all those years later. Wow.
Fuck yeah, I do. One of the hardest things I've ever done.
Dude, that is so weird. I quit on May 12th.
Oh my
wow.
God. That's amazing.
That's very strange.
That is really weird. Wow. All right, so that was the word, and that was going to be our segment. As hey, look, yeah, talking a little tough game, maybe to save a little face. Hey, yeah, we're going to be pushed to the negotiating table, but hey, we're still an independent country. Maybe he has to make this look to his people like this war wasn't the absolute criminal waste of life that it was. So whatever, you would kind of shrug that off as well. I guess he's just trying to save some face with his people. But the big headline there is obviously that the war will end sooner under Donald Trump, or so we thought. The Biden administration may have different plans, though, because this just dropped this afternoon. So this is pretty hot off the presses, folks. Biden allows Ukraine to strike Russia with long-range U.S. missiles. This was a threat that Biden made back in September, and he was talked out of it by the Russians. But now, lame duck president that he is, keys being turned over to Donald Trump in a couple months. He figures it's now or never, baby, and let's see what we can do. President Biden has authorized the first use of U.S.-supplied long-range missiles by Ukraine for strikes inside Russia, U.S. officials said. The weapons are likely to be initially employed against Russian and North Korean troops in defense of Ukrainian forces in the Kursk region of Western Russia, the officials said. Mr. Biden's decision is a major change in U.S. policy. The choice has divided his advisors, and his shift comes 2 months before President-elect Donald J. Trump takes office, having vowed to limit further support for Ukraine. Did it cause a shift in his advisors? Like, hey, can't we just have a smooth transfer of power? That was one half of his advisors. The other half of his advisors would be like, January 6th, I'll see your January 6th and raise you a World War III. You thought that was bad? Wait till you see this. Yeah. Wait till you see this shit.
Wait until you get a load of us.
Wait till you get a load of us. You'll be wishing for a new January 6th. Allowing the Ukrainians to use the long-range missiles known as the Army Tactical Missile Systems, or ATACMs, came in response to Russia's surprise decision to bring North Korean troops into the fight, officials said. Well, yeah, they're citing, I mean, what it is, it's in response to the fact that Donald Trump won the election, and then they know that this is going to go to hell. And by go to hell, I mean end. On terms that are not favorable to them. And rather than have a sort of a smooth landing, or a relatively smooth landing, it's hard to say anything smooth because of all the carnage there. It's horrible. But rather than have a relatively peaceful solution, they figure, hey, let's see if we can escalate beyond what Donald Trump is capable of de-escalating. That's basically my theory so far. Does anybody have anything to add before we finish the rest of this?
Go ahead, Misty.
Okay.
Anything? No?
No, I'm good for now. We can.
Yeah, go ahead. All
right. Mr. Biden began to ease restrictions on the use of U.S.-supplied weapons on Russian soil after Russia launched a cross-border assault in May in the direction of Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city. To help the Ukrainians defend Kharkiv, Mr. Biden allowed them to use the high-mobility artillery rocket system, or HIMARS, which have a range of about 50 miles against Russian forces directly across the border. But Mr. Biden did not allow the Ukrainians to use longer-range ATACMs, which have a range of about 190 miles in defense of Kharkiv. While the officials said they do not expect the shift to fundamentally alter the course of the war, one of the goals of the policy change, they said, is to send a message to the North Koreans that their forces are vulnerable and that they should not send more of them. The officials said that while the Ukrainians were likely to use the missiles first against Russian and North Korean troops that threaten Ukrainian forces in Kursk, Mr. Biden could authorize them to use the weapons elsewhere. Some U.S. officials say they feared that Ukraine's use of the missiles across the border could prompt President Vladimir Putin of Russia to retaliate with force against the United States and its coalition partners. But other U.S. officials said they thought those fears were overblown. I guess.
Are these the same ones who said the Russian economy was going to collapse?
Yeah. Seems like
They're
a hell of
still
a
saying
camp.
that. They're still saying that today. It's insane. We should also point out, though, that like a week ago, Telegraph put out an article. Dave DeCamp actually tweeted it out, which is what called my attention to it. But Dave DeCamp tweeted it out and said that the Telegraph reports Starmer and Macron are plotting to, quote unquote, thwart Trump from ending the war in Ukraine. Their big idea convince Biden to agree on some major escalations that risk nuclear war on his way out the door. So this has been something that they've been, plotting about for some time now, which we all knew. I mean, this is all something I think anybody paying attention could, figure that they were going to attempt. But here it is. We're on it now.
Well, Russell said, that if the deep state lets Trump back into office, he's going to have to reevaluate his opinion of the deep state and their role in determining who ascends to what position of power and on what terms.
Yeah, he'll do as he's told.
Well, they lost the election. I mean, this is a way to box him in to perhaps a more hostile foreign policy if it works. But there are, I think, some chances to stop this, as Scott Ritter puts in his tweet thread, which we'll get to in a moment. But, hey, we got to check in with Zelensky again. He's been getting a lot of camera time over the past 24 hours. Now, here he is. So he went from saying, hey, we think the war is going to end sooner. This is all in a matter of a couple of days. We think the war is going to end sooner with Trump coming in, but, hey, we're still an independent country, to now, strikes are not carried out with words. Such things are not announced. Missiles will speak for themselves. So now, Rambo mode here.
The plan to strengthen Ukraine is the Victory Plan, which I presented to our partners. One of its key points is long-range capabilities for our army. Today, there's a lot of talk in the media about us receiving permission for respective actions. But strikes are not carried out with words. Such things are not announced. Missiles will speak for themselves. They certainly will.
They certainly will. Breaking. Vladimir Putin just announced to use nuclear weapons if a massive missile or UAV is launched toward Russia, or when these weapons cross into Russian territory. Now, he didn't say he would. That's a little bit of editorializing, but as you can see there, Russia reserves the right to resort to nuclear weapons, if faced with threat. See, now this is how Western hegemony works, folks. Because that's an RT video, I don't think I can play that because I know RT is banned. So I can't show you his side. I can only show you one side. You're not really allowed to hear necessarily Putin's own words there, but we do have it that he has said, and it's nothing new. This is nothing unpredictable. He said this back in September, that strikes deep inside Russia would be considered an act of war against Russia, not simply by Ukraine, but by those providing the weapons, meaning the United States and NATO. And so, yes, this is an extremely dangerous and reckless and evil escalation, given the timing, especially. I mean, the American people just voted against this. Like, they just voted against a foreign policy that's going to drag them into World War III, if not a nuclear exchange, before Trump even takes office. So Scott Ritter,
all I'm going to say is all the immigrant prisoners better hold on to their junk.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So Scott Ritter puts out this statement on X, which I think is quite smart. The Biden administration just gave Ukraine the green light to use U.S.-made and provided ATACMs missiles against Russian targets inside Russian territory, including Kursk. It should be noted that the U.S., together with NATO, helped plan and execute the Ukrainian incursion into Kursk. Now, with Ukrainian forces being pushed back in the Kursk region by Russian forces, the decision to allow Ukraine to use ATACMs missiles in Kursk leaves no doubt that the U.S. is a direct party to the invasion and occupation of Russian soil by NATO proxy Ukrainian forces. In short, the U.S. is now at war with Russia. And that's what Putin himself laid out just 2 months ago, mid-September. This was the position taken by Russia back on September 13th, when the Russian government warned the Biden administration about allowing Ukraine to use ATACMs against Russian soil. The decision by the Biden administration reflects a growing sense of desperation on the part of Ukraine, NATO, and the U.S. that the war with Russia is reaching the breaking point where a decisive Russian victory is all but guaranteed. The Ukraine, NATO, U.S. axis is likewise concerned about the election results in the U.S., which saw Donald Trump win decisively on a platform that seeks to end the war in Ukraine and avoid escalation with Russia. The Biden administration seems to have taken this decision based on two specific analytical assumptions. First, that Russia is bluffing and will not seek to escalate. Second, that this escalation on the part of Ukraine and NATO and the U.S. axis will trap the incoming Trump administration into staying the course when it comes to supporting both NATO and Ukraine. The Biden administration has likely badly miscalculated. Russia will not accept this escalation by doing nothing. Russia's response will be decisive and possibly include hitting targets outside Ukraine. Moreover, Trump does not want a war with Russia, inherited or otherwise. Rather than accepting this escalation as a fait accompli, Team Trump will likely inform both NATO and Ukraine of the detrimental consequences of escalation once Trump takes office on January 20th. The last point is of utmost importance. And yes, this is of utmost importance. And this, I think, is the off-ramp, if there is one. We hope to God that there is. If Trump can separate himself from the Biden decision to escalate, Russia may temper its response, avoiding the kind of revolving escalation that would probably lead to nuclear war. It would be an unprecedented action on the part of Trump, direct interference in the policies of a sitting, albeit lame duck president, but the survival of America and the world is at stake. Let us hope Trump stays true to his promises and moves to prevent war. Yeah, that is, I agree, our best hope of avoiding a severe escalation. Is
that's depressing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is. I think you have to hope now, and yeah, I mean, you hate to rely on this. You have to hope that Putin understands what this is, that this is a last-ditch, desperate effort to box the United States into a more bellicose foreign policy, and that you got to hope that Putin trusts that Trump will calm this down. And it is going to require some action by the Trump transition team to actually get this situation under control from outside the Oval Office, from outside the White House. They're going to have to send the message, we are not going to pursue this, so let's not get crazy over these next 65 days. That's the best hope we have. Now, is that something to bet on? The other thing you have to remember, Vladimir Putin has a responsibility to protect his territory. He can't just allow missiles to fly into Russia. He's, as the leader of that country, he has a responsibility to defend his land. And so can he say, oh, yeah, no worries. I get it. We're cool. I'll take this 65-day onslaught. Can he do that as the Russian president? It just shows how psychotic this cabal of goons running this country is. The Anthony Blinkens, the Jake Sullivans, the Lloyd Austins, it just shows they are really not going to let this go peacefully and quietly.
This is a level of farce Stanley Kubrick never even dreamed about.
Yeah.
There's just, I keep picturing the military guys.
Yeah.
Do you mean? That's what I'm saying. Our only hope for peace is Donald J. Trump.
Especially given the fact that Donald J. Trump has just, again, put the likes of Marco Rubio
right. Yes.
in positions.
Yes.
It's not looking good, y'all. I mean, to be fair, there are some conflicting, at least public opinions on this front within the administration so far. I mean, we have people like Tulsi Gabbard who have spoken out about the conflict in Ukraine, mixed with somebody like a Marco Rubio who has been very, very, very hawkish. So it remains to be seen what that will look like playing out moving forward, but it's not looking good, especially given the fact that I think we all know that Donald Trump is just going to do as he's told. I mean, he's already doing that, right? So yeah, it's not looking good. Now, what really I think the question is what is actually the play here? And I think it's a little convoluted at this point. And also I think there's a lot of people doing the whole thanks a lot, Biden. Biden didn't make this decision, y'all. Biden can barely
he's in the jungle. He's in the Amazon.
No, he has no idea what's going on around him. I wish everybody would stop pretending like these are decisions that he's making. He's not making it. Dude didn't make a single decision his entire 4 years in office. Let's be very clear. I don't even think he chose what tie to put on every morning. He has no president really makes these decisions. They do as they're told. And
he
so
signed these orders. They told him he was signing the check.
Yes. Yeah. So it's not. This isn't not to take away any accountability from him. He is a piece of shit human being, and I wish very bad things upon him. But this is not a decision that Joe Biden made at all.
Well, no, I mean, really, none of these have been. And
No.
one of the things that the Biden era has really demonstrated very, very unmistakably is who actually runs the government. Because usually the president is just a figurehead, but the job of the president is to be a charismatic, attention-grabbing figurehead so that the people behind him who actually run things remain unseen. Right?
Yes.
That's the point of Obama, who's a larger-than-life figure. Donald Trump, whatever you think about him, he's certainly a larger-than-life personality. He commands attention. He projects leadership qualities. With Biden, there's none of that. You see right through Biden. Biden is just a translucent,
the men behind the curtain are right out front.
He's just a translucent figurehead. You see right through him because he's a non-entity, and it's very, very obvious that these decisions are being made by Anthony Blinken, by Jake Sullivan, by Lloyd Austin, and then whoever they have underneath them. Yeah, exactly.
Boeing,
and then you have all of that, right? Exactly. So this has just made it very, very obvious. And the question is, if you're Donald Trump, hey, listen, you picked Marco Rubio, who's, obviously from the hawkish wing of the party that you had a chance to really stomp out of any sort of relevant existence. You threw a lifeline to him. The question, if you're Trump now, is do you want to take power at all? Like, do you want the world to just go to hell? Like, hey, if you want a chance to actually wield power in any meaningful way, you have to make your best effort to contain this, because I don't know what else to say, folks, but, Russell has been saying this a long time. He doesn't believe they're going to let him back into office, and whether they can stop the actual transition, like literally the transfer of power, I'm not saying they're going to stop that, but what they could do is they could set things on a course that he is powerless to stop if this gets too out,
Right.
if this gets beyond him by January, which it very well could. At this rate, things can escalate very, very quickly. So if Donald Trump wants his chance to, I don't know, let RFK switch the Burger King fries from canola oil to olive oil, like if you want to make that change, you better pick up the phone and see if you can get this under control, because you're not going to have much power to wield if this gets beyond you. And I think that's part of what Ritter was saying too.
Look, these people, they have plans within plans within plans. We were
Yes.
actually
right.
We were talking about this at dinner after Kevin's show tonight. Whether they plan to swap out Biden the whole time. I said, nah. Actually, I mean, we thought that going in. If they had gotten Gavin Newsom, I would have said that was the plan the whole time to get past the primaries. We talked about that. The fact that they wound up with Kamala, I still think they plan to swap him out, but not until after he won. That
Right.
debate was not part of the plan. It was not part. They thought they got away with propping up this zombie for so long with whatever they're shooting him up with. They thought they could get away with it through November, and they thought, Trump would be so inherently disqualified again, as they did in 2016. Now Trump's in there. Okay, well, very much like their plan with Kamala, I believe. They always wanted her, and they were going to make her the president after Biden won. He would have resigned for health reasons within 6 months, year at the outside. She would have run as an incumbent in 2028. That's what I believe they had planned. Running her now was never the plan. With Trump, I don't think Trump was the plan. So now they're trying to make moves to ensure that he can't govern.
Right. Yeah, I think that is part of it. I mean, I think that's definitely what they're looking at now. They never run out of ideas, I mean, it's very, very
They got
rare.
a plan B, C, D, and E.
Exactly. And what gets totally unmentioned in all of this is, and this is what has been most perverse about, not most perverse, but one of the most perverse things about this whole Ukraine war is that the people who want peace, like us, are smeared as being anti-Ukraine. Like, if you care
It's the exact
at all
opposite.
about the ordinary people
I
of
love
Ukraine,
me a good pierogi.
right, exactly. I mean, if you have any human concern at all for the ordinary people of Ukraine, a peace deal was always the thing that needed to be pursued from day one. And whether they strike outside of Ukraine or not, you don't think this escalation with Zelensky talking like that right now and Putin knowing that he has Trump coming in who's going to try and broker some sort of peace, at least according to what he's saying. I mean, you are really putting the people of Ukraine in much greater danger than they were 12 hours ago as well. Like, it's just a completely evil, heinous, and reckless thing to do, especially knowing that your own country just rejected this. Your own country just voted against this. And now you're going to try and poke the bear and agitate for a nuclear exchange as a lame duck with 65 days to go after your party just got routed, after your own country just gave the opposite political vision a mandate. This is what you fucking do. Again, they are just stone cold fucking evil. It is a diabolical White House. It's a diabolical cabal that is running this country right now. And this is why I said, and look, not only have we not supported Donald Trump, we have been emphatic on this channel that to support Donald Trump is by extension to support genocide in Gaza, amongst a whole host of other horrible policies. So we are not making an argument for Donald Trump. But when I said, hey, Donald Trump is the 6-shooter with one chamber empty. If you're playing Russian roulette, he gives you that 1 in 6 random chance of avoiding this kind of thing. Well, here we are. With Kamala, there was no chance. This was their agenda all along. The only reason they did it now is because they feel they have to, because they're losing power in 2 months. But this was what they want. I mean, this was clearly the trajectory that this has been on from the beginning.
Yeah. I don't know if it could be more abundantly clear that we do not give a single, well, not us, obviously, but the cabal, as you call them, they don't give a single solitary fuck about the people of Ukraine. And this was all sold to the American people that we have to go help Ukraine. We have to go save the people of Ukraine. We have to bring them their sovereignty and, their democracy and all of this stuff. And that has fallen. I mean, that's
the
been
most
laid
corrupt
completely
country
bare.
in Europe.
Yes, and it's just so absurd. And again, we don't even care about the people of this country. And I'm supposed to believe that we care about the people of Ukraine. It's absurd on every level. And it's very frustrating to me that people still don't get it. They still don't see it. They don't want to see it. That's very frustrating to watch people pretend that that's not a real thing, but that's a real thing. So we are using the people of Ukraine. We have, again, as I said earlier, we have sacrificed an entire generation of Ukrainian men on the altar of Western imperialism. That is what we have done. We are responsible for that. We have wiped out an entire generation of Ukrainian men in order to fight a proxy war that we started. And it's so maddening to me. And the idea that people say that, that those of us who are against this are anti-Ukraine it makes me angry, because it's the furthest thing from the truth. I don't want an entire generation of Ukrainian men to die, and they have, and to watch that happening in real time and be powerless to do anything about it, and then to be ridiculed and called names because I don't support it is. Again, I feel like I'm living in crazy town. It blows my mind. It blows my mind that people cannot, because to me, it's so obvious. But apparently not.
Well, of course. And, Russell, when you talk about it being the most corrupt country in Europe and the Azov battalion, which these were concerns that Democrats
I covered
in
that
good
years
standing,
ago.
Oh, yeah.
Democrats in good standing raised this.
Ukraine has a Nazi problem, right?
Yes.
And what was that, The Guardian?
Well, Hakeem Jeffries called this out before the war started. Like Democrats in good standing were making this point. So, yes, that's all true. But what's even more insidious about this is we clearly manipulated this idiot into thinking that he was going to be the 21st century Churchill. I mean, he's a comedian. He's an actor. He doesn't know anything. He's a dupe. We clearly got in his head and put it in his mind that he could be the 21st century hero. When he was in no position to do so, which is why we egged him on at the Munich conference. Hey, join NATO, right? I mean, we set them up for this horror that has now been visited upon their
Your
country.
leadership is an inspiration to us all, sir.
Exactly. That's what we did. That is what we did. And it's a horrible crime. It's one of these things that's been ongoing to the point where it's kind of been forced out of headlines a little bit because of Israel-Gaza, but wow. I mean, we have said kind of all along, this is the thing to keep your eye on. This is what the West really cares about now, this Ukraine project. And now, after having been rebuked at the ballot box, they are still so desperate to impose their will in this conflict, which was of our creation. Like I said, we instigated this. We went and nudged Zelensky. Hey, try and join NATO. He'll be all right.
By the way, Scott Horton's book is out, Provoked. Go get it. It is.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say I haven't read it yet, but Scott Horton is an amazing author who has covered lots of things like Afghanistan, and in a very, if you know Scott Horton, you know it's very detailed. This is going to be a very thorough investigation and look at the way that we instigated this conflict. So highly recommend going to check that out. I can't wait to get it.
All right. So speaking of books, you know, I'm glad I already ordered this and started it because it seems like I might have just enough time to finish it before we get vaporized. So, Nuclear War, Annie Jacobson. It is a blow-by-blow, literally, version gaming out of nuclear war. And it is pretty horrific and terrifying. I'm only at the beginning, and it starts with the initial strike on DC with a very vivid description of what that would be like, starting at ground zero and then 5 miles out and 10 miles out. Really horrifying. So in case you need like nice bedtime reading, that's my recommendation in these times.
We can also announce, Malcolm just texted us confirmation, we will be interviewing Scott Ritter about this on the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow. We are hosting tomorrow, so we will have Scott on to talk about all of these latest and most urgent developments. All right, so we're going to do a quick ad read here to get some bills paid. Folks.
We also have a sound drop.
Yep. So, folks, if World War III starts tomorrow, we know the first thing on your mind is going to be, oh, and I never got to try Rumble 1775 coffee. How did I let that slip? But if you enjoy the free speech that Rumble is protecting and fighting for, you should know that our show on Rumble is only possible thanks to our viewers supporting Rumble's platform by purchasing Rumble's products. So most of you guys drink coffee every day. That's why you have to try Rumble 1775 coffee. It's actually some of the best coffee out there, according to our dissident audience. The reviews have been tremendous, and it's the same price as the coffee you buy now, only way better. Rumble 1775 coffee is free from chemicals, yet rich in flavor. This is because their beans are sourced from high-altitude farms in Bolivia, hand-picked, roasted weekly at their facility in Miami, and delivered fresh to your doorstep. And as believers in freedom, buying from Rumble helps fight back against censorious corporations like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. So join the coffee revolution and brew rebellion with Rumble 1775 coffee. Go to 1775coffee.com. Use code STUDIO and get a free month supply of their cognitive boosting supplement, Limitless, when you buy 2 bags of coffee. So think about that. It's a crazy deal. The supplement's worth more than the 2 bags of coffee. So go to 1775coffee.com and try it out. They come in 16-ounce bags, so it's actually really good bang for your buck. And the reviews have been excellent. That's 1775coffee.com, coupon code STUDIO. All right. Big crowd in here tonight, 2,100 strong on YouTube, 1,700 on Rumble. Please hit that like button and that subscribe button, everybody. Amadeus, we got the Amadeus already. Mark Pugliese, thanks for the $5. Somebody needs to conduct and publish national opinion polls on each of Trump's appointments. Sorry, I read that one too. So what did I do here? Here we go. Even the Nazis, Germans, not Ukrainians, rebuilt shattered communities. Len, thanks for the $25. Blinken, afuera. Javier Malay tribute. Thank you. Posmo, Biden just authorized strike on Russia with U.S. weapons. Yep, we got you, Posmo. Pardon me. Thank you very much for that. Let's see here. David Santucci says a couple of good recent horror movies, Veronica and its prequel, Sister Death. You seen any of those?
I have not seen those. I really want to see
the
the
foreign
Substance.
language.
Oh.
Yeah, I want to see the Substance too. I haven't gotten to that yet. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
that
sure
one looks
Veronica's
good.
foreign language. I have a hard time with subtitles.
Michael
Correct me if
Castillo
I'm wrong.
now says your favorite Rob Zombie movies. Mine was The Devil's Rejects. Yeah, The Devil's Rejects is clearly the best one.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the
Easily
only
the
option there.
Yeah, that's really kind of
Not a fan of his thing with Halloween.
I do like the first one though. I do like.
Yeah,
the
House of
first
a Thousand
one.
Corpses was good. Kind of a
Yeah, that's
pretty
good
good.
too.
That was
Yeah.
good.
I would say that's second for sure.
Yeah. What else? Yeah, no. I mean, actually, The Lords of Salem was not bad. It was different for him. It wasn't really gory and ultra violent, but it was like the witch one. That was actually not bad. I kind of did enjoy that.
I started watching it. I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
It's not really a reflection on it. It was just I didn't get into it
Yeah.
right away, and I never got back to it.
I did like that one too. But yeah, The Devil's Rejects, that's obviously the
That's the
best one.
choice. Yeah.
Daniel Hall, thanks for the $5. You guys see Trump and the savage nomads make RFK eat a Big Mac on the plane to prove he wasn't a narc before he got his back patched for his gang vest. Yes, I did see that. I did see RFK chowing down on some seed oils there.
Oh my God.
David Santucci, thanks for the $10. Misty doesn't look old enough to have done anything 18 years ago, let alone quit smoking.
Oh, you're my new favorite person. Thank you.
There you go.
I'll be 43 in January, so thank you for that.
Oh wow.
I'm not going to say who, but one of our regulars said to me, "Misty's really hot tonight." I said, "Well, that's what happens when you stop podcasting."
Yeah, right.
True. That's true. I feel very, very much less stress these days. So yeah, true story. But thank you, whoever you are. Thank you.
Russ and I, we're gonna be fucking 1 foot in the grave by this time next year.
You see, it's like the presidency. You look at us 2 years ago, and you look at us now. It's like we've been the president.
Yeah,
Dude.
like a Benjamin Button kind of.
I'm telling you, Assange is free, and I stopped podcasting.
There you go. That's right.
Yep.
So
Boom.
Anna Luisa
Weight lifted.
says
Winning.
free Assange.
We're getting tired of winning.
There you
Yeah.
go. Anna Luisa just said that. Misty Winston, free Assange. There you go.
Freed
All right.
with a D.
Freed. That's right.
None.
All right, Russell, get your cowbell out. We got some big ones coming up here. Lovey Dovey, thanks for the $99.99. That's very generous of you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I have been loving Russia YouTube stations from the average people, such as Tom from Texas. Russians live well. Thank you, Lovey Dovey. Appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Appreciate that. All right, Peter Monahan. You know, Peter, I'm a little upset with you for sending us this much money. I have to be honest, because you
How much did you send?
$400 from
Shut
Peter
up.
Monahan,
What?
which I gotta say,
We
you know,
don't even
Peter,
have enough
Peter.
cowbell for that. We need more
that's
cowbell.
a lot. I mean, look, I really
Wow.
appreciate it, and I really wish you well. But be careful. Please take care. of
So
yourself, Peter.
generous.
Yes, that is extremely generous, and we love you for it, and we love you anyway, Peter. But please be careful. Don't give us too much. Make sure you prioritize.
I could have used a little more
recovery.
cowbell.
Yeah.
We
So
can
Peter
all use
says-
more cowbell.
Peter says, thank you, loving your perspective. Recovery going well. Thank you, Keaton, for your perspective. Your show keeps me optimistic. The world is in chaos. Believe in yourself. Believe in your gut. We, the people, will persevere. We are the moral majority. We control this government. If we choose to use our leverage, it's up to you. Well, thank you so much. That is too kind.
You.
It is
Thank
too
you.
kind of you, Peter, to
Thank you, Peter.
lay that on us. And yes, we hope your recovery continues to
See,
go well.
we can't turn it down. Kevin wanted to buy me dinner. Say you're
Yeah.
a fucking artist. You're a fucking
Yeah, right.
artist. You're not buying me dinner. Get the fuck
Yeah.
out of here, man. When was the last time you bought a pair of shoes?
Right. Michael Castillo says, I think the deep state goes as deep as Israel. Thanks, Michael Castillo. And we got another cowbell, Landrew. Thank you, Landrew, for the $100. Appreciate that very much, Landrew.
Landrew. Landrew is dead.
There you go. The failed war on Russia is another of my tipping points of end of capitalism. Free Palestine, super chat censorship by Google is ... Well, that is to be expected, unfortunately. But thank you very much for that. We appreciate that very much. What do we got here? 007 Angelo. This empire is dying. Ohio, Hawaii, and North Carolina, but not once do we hear how do we pay for it when it comes to the welfare queens in Israel and Ukraine. Of course, those two need to pull themselves up from the bootstraps. Absolutely. Well said. Nancy JB, are these Carolina people also Palestinians? That would explain the abuse. Yeah. Yep. Well said. Louise Brooks. Yay, Misty. Shout out to Jamal Thomas, was the host of Fault Lines on RT. Back to his channel now. Find all the excellent RT America folks. Yeah, Jamal Thomas.
Yeah, he texted me and asked if I could come on, I think last week on his new channel, and I had something going on. I can't remember what it was, but so hopefully I'll be going on with him soon. I was on Fault Lines like weekly. and I loved it.
He's a good guy.
I loved him
a while. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Him and Malik did a great job over there. And I miss RT and Sputnik so much. I was on many of their shows on a regular basis. So yeah, since they shut down, I really haven't done much of anything other than Rachel Blevins got her channel that she's been doing. She was also on Sputnik. So go support, if you haven't already, go support all. I know that Manila Chan is doing her own stuff with Ted Rawl. I know Rachel's got her channel. Jamarl's got his own channel. I don't know if Malik's doing anything, but if you can go find all of those people that suddenly lost their jobs thanks to U.S. sanctions, go find their channels, support them, subscribe, follow, do all of that stuff. And give them a hand. They were all really great people.
Rachel Blevins thankfully got her channel back. She lost it and then she got it back.
Yeah.
007, Angelo, Misty, did you ever see a 1970s movie called Zombie? The only movie where a zombie fights a real-life shark underwater. It's a cult classic. 1980s.
Check
The Thing is my all-time favorite.
Ooh, The Thing is good.
So I used to have an almost complete collection of famous monsters of Filmland. So, yes, I've seen it.
You've seen Zombie? I haven't seen it. I will check it out, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a camp classic.
I like camp. I like the 70s, 80s camp.
Yeah. It's that
horror
thing.
movies.
It's that thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bethany Hunt, thanks for the $5, says Greenwald reported Rubio voting against funding Ukraine last year. Says Rubio has changed his mind on foreign war policy? ? Yeah, he has sort of fallen in line more with the orthodoxy of the party, which has shifted on the Ukraine question. So we will see. Now that they have power, this is the real test. You got a guy like Rubio, just a lifelong neocon hawk. He has, as Greenwald said, he is correct about that. Rubio did vote against the Ukraine funding last year. When they have power, that's when the real test is. And now, before they have power, that's when the real test is. Because what this escalation signals is that by the time you take power, it might be too late. All right. Well, this is one of the most challenging segues we've ever done. We're going to go from talking about nuclear war to this story right here. Conan O'Brien to host 2025 Oscars ceremony. There's really no way to make that not awkward. There's really no way to smooth that. I'm pretty good at segues, as you know, but this one was really hard. I had nothing. Conan O'Brien to host the 2025 Oscars ceremony. Emmy-winning comedian, writer, producer, and former late-night host Conan O'Brien has been tapped to host the 97th Oscars, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced on Friday. This marks O'Brien's first stint as a host, coming after 2 consecutive years with Jimmy Kimmel as MC. The ceremony is also coming off winning an Emmy for Outstanding Variety Special from a ceremony that yielded over 20 million viewers. True to form, O'Brien responded with humor to the announcement. America demanded it, and now it's happening. Taco Bell's new cheesy chalupa supreme. In other news, I'm hosting the Oscars, he said. We're thrilled and honored to have the incredible Conan O'Brien host the Oscars this year, Academy CEO Bill Kramer and President Janet Yang said in a joint statement. He is the perfect person to help lead our global celebration of film with his brilliant humor, his love of movies, and his live TV expertise. His remarkable ability to connect with audiences will bring viewers together to do what the Oscars do best, honor the spectacular films and filmmakers of this year. Craig Erwich, president of Disney Television Group, underscored O'Brien's suitability for the gig. Conan is a preeminent comedic voice whose decades-long success is marked by his distinctive humor and perspective, Erwich said. He joins an iconic roster of comedy greats who have served in this role, and we are so lucky to have him center stage for the Oscars. Okay, now,
Siri, names of comedians who have never made a political statement. Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
Done.
I mean,
column.
Jimmy Kimmel resigned his post. He said back in August that he wasn't interested
That's
in doing
creepy.
the gig.
I didn't realize my phone
Again.
was going to activate when I did that.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Of course,
That's creepy shit. That's creepy because I never use it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. You can
I didn't
actually
expect
awaken
that.
Siri when you do that.
Yes,
Yeah, she doesn't know
yes.
you're joking. She doesn't understand sarcasm. She's a real goy, Siri.
But she will.
She will. She'll learn. Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel was not fired or pushed out of the gig. He said he didn't want it. But yeah, this definitely signals that they are looking to move away from the kind of host who would go on a monologue like this, especially given the election results. So this is from Jimmy Kimmel Live. They can be real bastards with copyright. So we have the audio from this, not the video, but you can hear him choke up. You don't necessarily have to see it. He does it in such a pronounced way. You can really hear the pain in his voice.
Well, I thought you were going to.
It was
yeah, right, exactly.
Let's be honest. It was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine.
I don't need this. I don't need this working class hero crap.
Look at how he choked up when he says Ukraine and NATO. That got the biggest tear. Look.
Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
So, yeah, I believe that Conan got this gig because they don't have to worry about him going on a monologue like that. It is definitely a pronounced difference between recent years at the Oscars, especially going back to the Trump years when they were just incessantly preachy. Conan, he's very funny. He's very likable. People dig him. And
his episode of Hot Ones is crazy.
What's that one?
You guys watch Hot Ones? The Hot Wing show? So I'm not into celebrities, but I think the guy that hosts that show is one of the best interviewers working today. He's fucking fantastic. And so every once in a while, there's somebody that I'm like mildly, because I don't really give a shit about celebrities, but like I watch the Conan O'Brien one because I like Conan. I watch the Ricky Gervais one, which by the way, if anybody should ever host an award show, it should be Ricky Gervais should host all of them, period.
They're never bringing him back after that.
No, but they should. He should host all of them. But his episode, you should check out his episode of Hot Ones. Yes, I love Ricky Gervais.
If they got Ricky Gervais to host the Oscars, they would do. It is one of the only things that could bring them back. Yeah. They got Ricky Gervais or Dave Chappelle. Yep, people would watch just to see what that would be.
And I haven't watched an award show since I was like 15 years old. And the ones Ricky hosted before, I didn't watch. I just watched the clips of him. But if they brought Ricky on, I would 100% watch that live because I know he would go all out, and it would be great.
It would be amazing. I mean, Conan is he is a benign pick, but I mean, I think he's benign in the sense that they're trying to move away from the preaching and the preening and the sort of political sort of histrionics. Yeah, there's definitely a shift there.
Okay, this is what I meant when I said this is going to be a cultural shift that is going to happen very quickly in a way that you haven't seen since the Reagan years, where one day it was Frank Zappa. The next day, it was Alex P. Keaton and Family Ties. It happened in the blink of an eye, faster than you would have thought it could happen. In the end, these actors who have been virtue signaling all these years, they like their money and they like their fame and they like being hired. They're going to shut the fuck up. I promise you, because they see the culture has so turned against them that now it jeopardizes their future earnings and work potential. You are going to see the quietest group of entertainment industry professionals at this year's Oscars as you've seen in 10 years. Yes. And that is what America's going to say. Good. I think this election will finally drill the message into their heads. People fucking hate you. They hate you. They don't. We talked about this with Gary on Jimmy's show. Yeah, when Scarlett calls up the Avengers, it's not like it used to be, where when we would watch Arnold and Demi with Bruce, we liked them. We liked Julia Roberts. We liked them. We really loved them. They were American royalty. They didn't get the memo that people hate them now. They thought people would think it was adorable to watch the Avengers make dumb jokes about the election.
So cringe.
No, everyone hates you. I think this election finally got that across to them. Because as much as you are seeing some of them, as we'll get into in the Exodus segment later, You're seeing some of them virtue signal. Not like you'd expect. Not like you'd expect. Some of them are sticking their fingers out and saying,
yeah.
I want to.
Well, and
I
you
wanna
just
keep
mentioned that
working.
we used to like them. We used to, I think there's been, because there was paparazzi and the hardcore obsession with celebrity, it oversaturated the market. Like, you know everything there is to know about celebrities today. Like, you know where they eat lunch, you know what car they drive, what they wore today. Like, it's everywhere. Like, they're everywhere. And back in the day, I sound so old. But back in the day, we didn't know. We had no, like, Julia Roberts didn't have Instagram. She wasn't taking pictures of her lunch every day. Like, yeah, there was this air of like unattainableness. Like, oh, these are cool people, and they're not cool anymore. Like, they're annoying, and they're again, it's just oversaturation. Like, we know far too much about these people. They try to shove themselves down our throats. It's like constant. They want to be influencers, and it's like that. And I think that there are certain celebrities who shy away from that. Like the likes of Eminem. He rarely leaves his house. Like, he doesn't.
But he did go and do the event for Harris.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, in a general sense, he doesn't do a lot. Like, that we're not over inundated with Eminem stories all day, every day. And I think that some of them have done a good job of like kind of trying to maintain that. But there are others who it is a constant barrage of, like, Kardashian style. We're going to shove ourselves down your throat all day, every day. And it's just obnoxious, and nobody gives a shit, especially right now. With the economy being as awful as it is, and then you have the Kardashians strolling around and with their Birkin bags and their, $10,000 earrings and the whatever. I mean, people are just over it. They're so tired of these people being given that level of, notoriety and power and all of that stuff. And I think that there's just been a massive shift in consciousness, which is great, because the obsession with celebrity has always been very strange to me. I get, having like a favorite actor or admiring somebody's work or whatever, but the obsession, like the crazy over the top obsession that certain people have with celebrity it's just bizarre. I don't really quite understand it, but it's out there.
Well, having been around actors, I've been saying this for a long time. If you know actors, the worst thing that ever happened to actors was giving them access to platforms to tell people what they're thinking. Yeah. They were a lot better off when the studios told them what to say. Yeah. All right, Joan Crawford, you go out there and wave. What would people have thought of Joan Crawford if the studio had not trained her in how to behave in public? No more wire hangers. Is that what we would have gotten? Instead, you got, hello. Yes, we just made a wonderful picture, and that was it. Nobody had any idea she was a drooling maniac behind the scenes. Now you know.
Yeah. Well, here's an example of a great bit. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I thought I would include this because this is Conan tackling some fairly dark and red-pilled political subject matter, but always makes it very light and funny and delightful. This is comedian Jim Downey working a bit about Jeffrey Epstein. This is pretty good for those of you guys who haven't seen this. I think this is fun. I think this is worth showing.
Said about Jeffrey Epstein, terrible things.
No, Jeff. I'm talking about Jeff Epstein, the New York financier.
Yes, we're talking about the same Jeff Epstein.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I never heard.
Oh, it was a big story in the news. Huge.
No.
Yes, for you to say no one ever
Jeff
said
Epstein.
Yes.
Jeff Epstein.
Yes, the financier.
With the island.
Yes, he had an island that I've never been to. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, with respect, if there was some news about Jeff Epstein, I would have heard.
No, I don't know what rock you've been under. It was a huge story, and Jeff Epstein I have to tell you, he's gone. He's dead.
What do you mean?
He's dead.
He's dead.
He's dead.
Sorry, nice try. If Jeff Epstein were deceased, I'm pretty sure I would know about it. Now, I admit I've not. Probably since the pandemic, I have not talked to him.
That would make sense. That would make sense. He's been dead for a number of years, Jim.
I'll tell you, there's one easy way. Let's call Ghislaine Maxwell.
No, we're not calling Ghislaine Maxwell.
Why not? Okay.
She's in prison. She's in prison for crimes she committed with Jeff Epstein.
Ghislaine's in prison.
Yes, stop calling her Ghislaine. How do you know these people? Jim.
Conan.
Jim.
All right.
Jim, listen.
Okay.
Listen
I'm
to me.
just saying, I don't.
See, that's a delightful bit. That's a delightful bit. Better than
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel crying about NATO. So there you go.
Yes.
More of that
Yeah.
energy at the Oscars.
Yes.
There you go.
All righty. We will move on. We'll take some more Rumble rants and super chats here. What do we got here? Mad Matt Chicago. So you think, Russell, they set him up to debate expecting success? Come on, they knew he was going to fall flat on his face. That's why the powers that be, Hillary, did it. Well, Hillary didn't get anything out of it. Turns out nobody got anything out of it.
You know, originally that's what we thought, but the more we dug into it, nah. They thought they were going to get away with it again. They were going to swap him out for Kamala early in his term. Once maybe he wouldn't have even made the inauguration.
Right.
See, I disagree with you. I didn't think that they were actually going to run him in 2020. I thought they would swap him out pre-2020 election. I thought he would have a medical emergency and somebody would take over, and then they would have a big press conference and Nancy Pelosi would give a win one for the Gipper speech and AOC would cry in the front row. And I called it the day that he announced that he was running for re-election. I said he will not be the nominee. And I did not think that they were going to try to run him again. And I don't think that that was the plan. I think they used him the first time around because they needed somebody with enough name recognition to get away with cheating Bernie Sanders.
Right. Sure.
And so I think that that's the only reason why they used him. He was the Grandpa Joe, the Uncle Joe. They had the cool Uncle Joe. They were able to use that.
They tried to make her happen then.
Yeah. Well, there was an audition tape where she auditioned for the role of president. So yeah, she's always been, but they couldn't use her then because she was so horribly and universally reviled. She had to drop out before her home state because she was going to get embarrassed.
Exactly.
And so that's why they used Joe
But they don't
Biden,
like to. Yeah, these people don't like to take no for an answer. But remember, power breeds arrogance. I think they got away with it once. They thought they'd get away with it again. In the end, they always wanted Kamala because she would be the perfect puppet, the perfect avatar that they've always wanted. But they knew she couldn't win on her own. So what could they do? What could they do? Like, they can't remove him, then they got to run her. In the end, the way that debate went, they didn't have a choice. They had to run her, but it was premature. They were just going to install her after he won. I think they were arrogant enough they could get away with it one more time.
Daniel Hall, Trump's job is to prepare us for an eventual war. The regime has a credibility problem. It can't get poor non-degree holding whites to sign up for military service anymore. Trump is a recruitment ad. David Santucci, Veronica and Sister Death are Spanish films, so yeah, subtitles. There you go. Bethany Hunt says, Russell, we can't hear the fucking cowbell. Well, maybe it's not close enough to the microphone.
I could hear it.
Well, this is a long time thing. All right. So getting a good microphone means it automatically suppresses any big jump in sound like that. That's the price we pay for having good equipment.
That's right. Bell and No Cow, says Michael Mike. And Gavin Hillick, thanks for the $5, says Matt Taibbi said Kimmel isn't a comedian. He's a mechanism for social control. There you go. Thank you, Gavin.
Good way to put it.
Furrow Squeen says, I haven't laughed so hard at a film much when I saw Long Legs. That scene with Nicolas Cage, most scenes had me crying with laughter. I still haven't seen that. I want to. Now it's
terrible. It's terrible. I was so annoyed.
Everyone said it was so good.
Some people love it. If you look at the reviews, it has like a lot of 1-star reviews and then a lot of 5-star reviews.
Terrible. I was angry.
Okay.
Both it and I watched Trap, the new M. Night Shyamalan with what the fuck's his name?
Hartnett. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That guy.
I watched it. It was like junk food. It was like a fun, dumb little thing.
It started off okay, but then as it started to unfold towards the end, it was like, really?
Yeah, no, it was like it totally went too far in straining your credibility.
Yes. But it's again, you're right. It's a junk food movie, but Long Legs, watch it for yourself because you're right. It is very polarizing. People have very different opinions on it. Some people love it. I did not at all.
Doc Durkin, the New York Times lying about North Korean troops. They're training in Russia, but nowhere near Kursk region. Media loves this lie narrative. Thank you, Doc Durkin.
The New York Times is lying? How dare you?
Stop the presses. Krauthammer said that Israel needs to exist as an ethno-state to prevent assimilation of Jews through marriage, which is happening in the West. You're talking about Charles Krauthammer, the guy from a million
Did he
years ago?
say that? Did he
Yeah.
say that?
I mean, that guy's been dead for how long has he been dead for?
Man, they lay that guilt on Jewish kids. I still remember it when I was in Hebrew school. They said, what Hitler started, the Jewish children are finishing. They meant because they're intermarrying.
Oh. My real name. Did you cover Alex Jones?
And I was
rise?
9. That is very heavy shit to say to like 9-year-olds. You want to know why these people are psycho like that? That's the kind of brainwashing they lay on Jewish kids. And that's here. I can only imagine what it's like in Israel.
Oh.
Right. My real name. Did you cover Alex Jones's rise from the ashes? Well, did they overturn the sale? I know they paused it to look at the process, but I don't know if they overturned it. So we will wait to see what the final rendering of that is. We wouldn't do a segment without a final word on that. My real name. Citizen Charles, hopefully the Marco Does Congress gay porn movie comes out before World War III kicks off. Thank you, Citizen Charles. Appreciate that. All right, Russell, we got one more here on the YouTube side, and then we are switching to Rumble for a couple of quick things before the Q&A. So folks, get ready to switch over to Rumble fairly soon, but we are going to do one more with our friend Misty here before we let you go. Thanks for joining us, Misty. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Hope we're not
thanks for
keeping you up
having me.
too late.
No.
Beautiful. All right, Russell, go ahead.
All right. So as you might have heard, there's a lot going on with
hold
X.
on. Sorry, Russell. I apologize. Hold on. We got to do the supporters now if we're going to switch after here. So, yeah, Jake, thank you. Good call. Appreciate that. My bad. Didn't mean to break your flow there. But, yes, if we're going to – because I cut one of the segments for Tuesday. So, yeah, folks, if you want to help us support the program, you can become a member. Go to patreon.com/DoDissidents, DoDissidents.substack.com. Or you can join our locals, DoDissidents.locals.com. That's what we are really kind of pushing everybody here to do. Locals is a free speech platform connected with Rumble. So if you can join our locals at DoDissidents.locals.com, makes a huge difference. You get access to special supporter streams, special live events, movie club, film nights. You also get call-in access to our post-show Q&As, which are every Sunday nights. Over on Rumble. Tonight is Sunday, so we will be taking your call-in questions after the conclusion of the program. So that's DoDissidents.locals.com. It's $5 a month. It helps us out tremendously, and we give you a lot of perks to make it worth your while. So that's DoDissidents.locals.com. Thank you all very, very much for your support. We'll take a couple Rumble rants here while this keeps going here. Speaking of Russ on Kubrick, this administration State Department has been Full Metal Jacket on roids and 100% on Misty's mountainous hop on Biden for the POS that he is, was, and will always be. There you go, Ken Texican. Ken Texican also asked, question, do deep staters and deep state ghouls have a plan beyond their Raytheon stock and their proximity to nearest deep bunker that 99.9% of the rest of us have no access to? What was the quote? I forget who said it. In a nuclear war, the living will envy the dead. Yeah, I mean, bunker schmunker. Like, it is just suicidally insane to escalate at this point, given the risk of a nuclear exchange.
That's the arrogance of power.
Yep.
These arrogant bastards will march us right into a nuclear war. And you might say, well, you don't want to live in a bunker. You know, I would also say nobody wants to drive that fucking Cybertruck, but he made it. Right? Like these are a bunch of autistic dorks who grew up on like nerdy post-apocalyptic fantasies, who think they're going to rule the earth in a nuclear war. Never thinking, you know, Hunter Thompson said, it's one of my favorite Hunter Thompson quotes. He said, servants have always been the Achilles heel of the rich. It's hard to find someone smart enough to drive the car who's too dumb to realize what's going on when you ask them to go into Lokahatchee for 2 mature billy goats and a pound of animal stimulant. How are you going to run these underground bunkers? You know, Mark Zuckerberg's not going to be fixing the air scrubber, right? So what makes you think these people that you need to run these bunkers are not going to kill you as soon as money's not a thing anymore?
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think they think that through.
I would like for there to be a scare and for them to all go to their bunkers, and then we can just put cement over their little exit, and we can lock them all down there.
Well,
There you go.
that's
be
after
excellent.
we've mutated.
Yeah,
It's after we've
exactly.
mutated and we have like the 6 arms to.
No, not
seal
like
them
a
in
like.
and-
I just want there to be a scare so that they all run for their bunkers.
right,
but
okay.
nothing actually happens, and then we
Like
can
a false
just pour
flag.
cement. Yes, yeah,
A
that'd be
false
cool.
flag of the proletariat.
Yes.
There you go. All right, one more item to take care of before we do our final YouTube segment of the night. So that's a word from Rumble Premium. So this sponsorship, folks, is from Rumble, and it's one that's incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on issues like COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not censor, though. They held strong. They held the line, and they're attacked daily for giving shows like us a voice to talk to audiences like you. They're attacked in corporate media, attacked by governments like France. They're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to suppress speech. Rumble is fighting to preserve it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers, though, because they don't get much of it. So watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in the fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium, which is the ad-free version of the Rumble platform. So join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off, with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. So go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO for that $10 discount. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are, of course, just happy if you watch us on the platform. Okay. All right, Russell, I apologize for breaking your flow. We are now ready for the final YouTube segment of the evening. So go ahead.
Okay, so many people have been looking at the Exodus. Many are fleeing from X. Some are saying good riddance. They say they're going to Blue Sky. We'll take a look at that. I put together a little video of Ms. Reed and Mr. Lemon here. Let's see what they had to say.
Everyone, I have loved connecting with all of you on Twitter and then on X for all of these years. But it's time for me to leave the platform. I once believed that it was a place for honest debate and discussion, transparency and free speech. But I now feel it does not serve that purpose.
Stop, don't come back.
Hey guys, so today I finally did something I've been meaning to do for a while. And the reason for doing it, and kissing goodbye my 1.9 million followers over there, is because I hadn't been posting for a long time. I just didn't want to contribute content once it was purchased by its present owner. But just having it there, I was only holding on to it because I, really didn't want someone trying to take over that name and using it for nefarious purposes. I was a little bit worried about that.
Bullshit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit!
Some of the boycott is starting to lift. And I think if Trump wins, we'll see, probably most of the boycott lift. But if Kamala wins, we'll see that boycott get stronger. And they'll friggin' shut down. There's no way that the sort of Kamala puppet regime would allow X to exist.
You really think that they'll be able to shut it down, though? Is there a pathway to that?
Yes.
So I think he's probably right about that. And at least so far, he has been proven right about advertisers starting to return, because in the end, these companies are not woke. These companies are whatever they perceive the money play to be. And while that regime was in power, they were terrified that they were going to come in and revoke their privileges. So they, oh yes, Elon Musk, Trump won the election. Look, Comcast, Disney, IBM, among advertisers returning to X after ad freeze. X's former top advertisers, including Comcast, IBM, Disney, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Lionsgate Entertainment, have resumed ad spending on the platform this year albeit at much lower rates than before. Now, we might cover this on Jimmy tomorrow in more extensively. Now, yes, they did have the biggest migration off the platform in one day, I think about 100,000 after Trump won. They also had the most engagement they've ever had. Engagement was up about 38%. So in the end, that's what advertisers care about. How many people are actually looking at the platform? And in that, at least so far, they've been doing better. So
well,
this
they
is
had
kind
a
of
field day. I mean, after Trump won, I mean, Misty and I were kind
Sure.
of talking about this before we even started doing segments about how really Twitter has become a playground for the chuds. He should rename it Chud. You know, that should be the name of the platform. Yeah.
cannibal humanoid underground dweller.
Yeah. Exactly.
That-
yeah.
Perfect.
That's it. Misty got it. Friend of show Rachel Zegler here. This is kind of foreshadowing our piece on Rumble. Me and Keaton have an ongoing thing about Rachel Zegler.
She's awful.
Well, Keaton loves her.
I think she's adorable. I think she's spunky.
He loves her.
I like her attitude.
He wants to be
Are
our
you being
new
for
manager.
real?
He's for real.
Are you being for
He
real?
loves her.
Oh,
He loves her.
Keaton.
He thinks she's
terrific.
based.
I think she's terrific. Yeah.
She's awful. She's insufferable, Keaton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Insufferable.
This is a hill I have to die on. This is
all right. You're dying alone, homie.
Yeah.
by the time she's done tweeting or Instagramming or Snapchatting or whatever she's doing now, you are going to be an army of one. Get off of Elon's app, by the way. The fuck are you doing?
Ugh.
They're eating you up on Twitter. I don't use that app for a reason. He helped get that man elected and you're giving him business. I was talking about finding catharsis in art. I don't care if you're going to pick a fight with me. It's been done before. Find something real to be mad at today. There's plenty to go around. So, some of her fellow celebrities heard her clarion call and some journalists. Why The Guardian is no longer posting on X. We wanted to let our readers know that we will no longer post on any official Guardian editorial accounts on the social media site X. We think that the benefits of being on X are now outweighed by the negatives and that resources could be better used promoting our journalism elsewhere. This is something we have been considering for a while, given the often disturbing content promoted or found on the platform, including far-right conspiracy theories and racism. The U.S. presidential election campaign served only to underline what we have considered for a long time, that X is a toxic media platform and that its owner, Elon Musk, has been able to use its influence to shape political discourse. Now, okay, assuming all of this is true, why didn't you leave the platform when they suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story? That seems like shaping political discourse to me. FBI pressured Twitter, sent trove of docs hours before post broke Hunter laptop story. Former Twitter execs tell Republicans they erred on Hunter Biden laptop story. So it didn't seem to bother you when Jack Dorsey was the CEO, and he was clearly making blatantly political decisions about blocking a major story on X.
The
Twitter
Guardian
at the time,
itself works to influence. Y'all, they're a huge part of the reason Julian Assange was, the consent was manufactured to arrest Julian Assange. Huge part of the reason. They threw Assange under the bus for years after using his work to personally benefit themselves, make their careers, make tons of money, win awards. Yes. And then listen, the Paul Manafort story from 2018 is still to this day on their website. To this day, thoroughly debunked. Yes, it's still up. Luke Harding's bullshit piece where he, by the way, credit where it's due. He invented a whole ass outfit for Paul Manafort to wear to visit Julian Assange in the embassy that never happened. Like chinos and a whole ass outfit. Thoroughly debunked. That is still up on their website. So the idea that they're calling any news outlet toxic, go fuck yourselves. I have a serious beef with The Guardian. I'm sorry.
As do we all. All right, so let's see some of these celebrities. Guillermo del Toro. Babs Babs has departed. Babs has left the building. Lizzo left. You know, that's really weird to me. They're trying to get away from toxic people and sexual predators, but I seem to remember former Lizzo dancers were weight shamed and pressured while at strip club, lawsuit says. 3 former dancers have filed a suit against Lizzo, accusing the singer of sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment. Shouldn't they be blocking her from Blue Sky, this dangerous predator that humiliated and fat shamed and sexually harassed her dancers? I thought that's what Blue Sky was all about getting rid of these toxic personalities. Friend of show Ben Stiller over on Blue Sky. Now that might bring me over to meet up with Ben again. George Takei. Everyone was very curious about George Takei. All right, so George Takei is really a fucking weasel because he's been sitting on X for years bitching about X. Now he's taken this to another level because, okay, so this is pinned. This is pinned on his account, and this is November 12th. What's today? The 17th? That's 5 days ago. He's posting all this today, like one after the other. What this dropped half hour after this dropped. So it's all about the virtue signal. I had to respond to that. You've really got to be a special kind of stupid to pin your tweet about going to Blue Sky and then keep dropping content here like a crackhead. So far, no response from Mr. Takei. Justine Bateman, who has emerged as a cultural figure in like the last 7 days. This is a new art form. We need a hashtag for it. And these are photos of Don Lemon and I forget who the other one was. Leaving
Gabrielle Union.
There you go, Gabrielle Union. Thank you. So Blue Sky taken a little victory lap. It's official. 1 million people have joined Blue Sky in just the last day. Welcome. Now, to put that in perspective, there are 250 million users on X. And in a bit of watch out what you wish for, you might get it. You wanted the libs, huh, Blue Sky? You wanted the hall monitors over on your platform. Blue Sky is drowning under the weight of leftists reporting everything. 3,000 reports per hour. This is Blue Sky Safety. In the past 24 hours, we have received more than 42,000 reports, an all-time high for one day. We're receiving about 3,000 reports an hour. To put that into context, in all of 2023, we received 360,000 reports. We're triaging this large queue so the most harmful content, such as CSAM, is removed quickly. So this is going to, I think, be remembered as the Mariel boat lift of social media platform exoduses. Basically, X emptied out all of its complainers, all of its safety cult members, all of the people who are constantly contacting X to complain. It sent them all over to Blue Sky.
And now they're complaining about each other.
And now they're complaining about each other. You cannot make it up. Okay, here's a platform full of libs who have specifically gone there not to encounter an opinion that might trouble them. And that's not good enough for them. They're all ratting each other out.
That's amazing.
I mean, we were talking about this, like Misty and I were talking about this before we started segments, and like, I mean, this is the thing. Like, you got these people like Don Lemon and Joy Reid and, you know, George Takei, who apparently says he's going, but maybe he's not going. Ben Stiller, right? They just the narcissism of these people of having to be liked, needing constant positive reinforcement. That's why they go to a place, or they say they're going to go to a place. They'll probably come back once they realize there's not the traffic over there, just like they did last time.
Oh, of course they will.
That's what they always do.
But
it's they went to Threads, right? They were going to go to Threads.
Yeah, Threads, right? That was the other thing.
Mastodon.
It was the need for positive reinforcement and positive feedback, as opposed to just going where the people are and dealing with the negative feedback. Like Misty and I were talking about how, and this could be, you know, due to some algorithmic fuckery. It could just be that there are a lot. I mean, I'm sure it's probably both. There are a lot of really in their feelings MAGA bitches on X. They are. And for all the trashing of the wokesters that they like to engage in, I've never met a whinier crop of bitches than the MAGA people. Like when you cross them, it is just like they have absolutely no fuse whatsoever.
If you just tell them the truth,
right? Yeah, exactly.
They get very angry.
Exactly. So you get a lot of shit. You get a lot of shit from them when you post something that triggers them, and they get triggered just as hard as the libs and just as often. But the point is, so what? Like, do it anyway. Like, who cares? Like, unless you are really in need, and this is why I say the narcissism of these people, like, unless you really need that constant positive reinforcement, just go where the people are. And if they bitch about your stuff, then let them fucking complain. I don't care. What do you think? It bothers me when somebody fucking trolls my post or whatever. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? That's part of the game. That's why you're there, right? I mean, this is social media. This is own or be owned. It's part of the game. That's what happens.
Well, that's it. Without any friction, it's just not interesting. So everyone winds up going back to X. It's just not interesting to be surrounded by people. I mean, that's, you know, I mean, Facebook has kind of become that organically as people who really want to fight with people have gone to platforms like X. Like if you want a more hermetically sealed experience where you're only interacting with your friends, just go to Facebook. Like, what do you need to even have something like Blue Sky for? I think that might be part of why these alternatives to X haven't really worked out, because what's the point? Like, what's the point?
Conflict sells. Conflict always sells. Right.
Well, and if you don't want conflict, get off social media.
Right.
Like, it's real simple to just delete your account and get off. It's not required to survive to be on social media. And social media is brutal. That's just the way that it is. Right. But that's just the way that it is. And you're right. It's narcissism. And I think that a lot of it is that they genuinely believe that they have a right to exist in this world where nobody says anything that they don't agree with. And it offends them deeply that somebody can get away with saying something that they don't agree with. And I mean, not to bring up Ricky Gervais again, but I will. Just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. Like you don't get to just go around policing what everybody says and how they think and feel. And that's and Keaton, you're absolutely right. MAGA is just as bad, arguably worse at times. I mean, it just depends on the subject matter, but that's what
the context.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that but that's also what's so funny is because they're both of those stupid cults are busy pointing fingers at each other, and they're just mirror images of each other. They really are just mirror images.
This is what I will say. In general, because they've been on the wrong side of it now for a while, the MAGA people's solution is generally not that you should not be allowed to speak. That's
generally yes, you're correct.
Generally,
they might get butthurt, but they don't. They don't go complain to the manager.
But listen, a lot of MAGA people follow me, and they on Twitter, and I'm not shy. You know what I mean? And they continue to follow me. They disagree with me on a whole lot. But they continue to follow me. And I agree with you on that. Generally speaking,
like you're dealing with a religious cult. Yes. Where they don't just disagree with you, you are evil. You are literally evil incarnate if you don't agree with them. We saw that today when I thought it was really funny to me and to Jimmy. So Jimmy spoke. He did a talk back at this theater show that we were live streaming today. And I could see the couple in the front getting more and more upset as Jimmy kept talking. And like getting into, Trump and Rogan and, man, like he knew his audience and he really wanted to stick the knife in, I think, because he gave them his top drawer monologue. He laid everything that would piss off a lib in like a 10-minute speech. And I could see them getting more and more angry, and finally the woman stood up while Jimmy was still talking and started yelling at Kevin, the guy who's showing us, it was such a nice show, and I had to ruin it. I don't think MAGA people would act like that. It's not my experience.
Well, I'm not talking about like reporting you to the. I'm talking about the kind of feedback.
I guarantee you, they're going to complain to the theater.
Well,
I'm gonna ask Kevin if he got complaints.
Oh,
well,
for sure they're
I mean,
going to
the
complain.
run is over now, but
well,
what I'm
he
talking
knew
about
that,
is
yeah.
like if you're posting, you get that kind of, even if they're not reporting
Yes.
you, the negative feedback, the
Trust
ratios,
me.
the negative
Trust
comments. Like,
me.
that's what I mean.
As often as I go after Elon and Trump and Kennedy and Tulsi, I get it all the time. And in particular, I get it on the Assange issue because they don't like to hear the truth about Trump's role in Julian Assange's situation.
That is very true.
And they get very angry when I point out the facts on that. And they, I mean, I get blocked all the time by them, but to my knowledge, they don't report me on a mass scale quite the way the libs do. So yes, I agree with that. They are, they handle it differently, but they are.
They've been most recently on the receiving end. Now, what is nice about what I'm seeing with Trump is, for my entire life, the people you fought about censorship were the fucking moral majority Christian fundamentalist people. So it seems like we're going to get back to more comfortable ground for me. I'm going to be fighting the enemy I'm used to.
Right, but what I'm talking about in terms of like why they're leaving, like they're not leaving because people are reporting them. They're leaving because they're just getting negative feedback. They're getting ratioed on their posts, and they don't like dealing with the shit. And that's where I'm saying, like, I know I'm gonna get more shit when I do an anti-Trump post than when I dunk on the libs. Like that's just I understand.
Right, sure.
Why does it bother you? Like, it doesn't bother me. Why should it bother Ben Stiller, who lives in a fucking $20 million mansion? Like, what the fuck do you care if some fucking trolls ratio you on Twitter? Who gives a shit? That's what I'm saying. That's how narcissistic they are. Like, it bothers them. These are people who have
but that's the same reason
world.
They won't ultimately leave. They'll all be back.
Yeah.
They'll all be back because they're not going to go somewhere where there's no audience for them.
Right.
Yeah. No, they like the sound of their own voices, so they want to be able to be heard. That's the whole thing with them. But Russ, I do just want to say, though, because you said that you feel like you're going to be fighting an enemy that you're used to. Something that terrifies me about Trump is that he has people who are generally against censorship and against like surveillance and stuff like that cheering him on. And that is a scary thing. I mean, credit where it's due. He's got libertarians fully convinced that he's a free speech, pro-liberty guy, and he's definitely not. And so that's a very terrifying prospect.
He said straight out he wants to crack down on pro-Palestine speech on college campuses.
He wants to go after whistleblowers. If you burn a flag, he wants to throw you in jail for a year. I mean, like, it's a whole host of things. He's not been shy. And people will say that he got tricked on Julian Assange, right? In 2010, he said that there should be the death penalty for Julian Assange, long before he even thought about running for president. So don't tell me that he was tricked by the deep state. He's always had that opinion. So he's never been a free speech guy. He's never stood for free speech a day in his life. He's not pro-liberty. He is not like, but he's got them full, not all of them, to be fair. A lot of my libertarian friends see right through it, but he's got a lot of them. Not only fooled, but fully cheering him on in the march towards all of the stuff that he's going to be bringing on us. And that is a terrifying thing.
Well, this is why I say they're such little bitches, because Trump is alternately to them the lion and the strong leader leading Washington across the Delaware, and he's going to lead the charge against the deep state. But then when he does something they don't like, they act like he's this infantilized dupe who was deceived by his handlers. Like, okay, so which one is it? Is he a strong leader, or is he a child being led around by his chief of staff who's giving him bad advice when he makes the wrong decision? But when he makes a decision you like, he's
going to save us all.
George Washington. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, when you look at, because we covered his thing about education. And hey, man, I have not been shy talking about, postmodernism the whole time we've had the show. DEI, I've been an opponent of all of that stuff. But I always warned people, okay, the reason I am telling you, don't insist that pornographic books must be in junior high schools, or you're being censored, or books are being banned. Because you're pushing this, you're re-energizing and re-empowering a Christian right that is extremely censorious, that we defeated long ago. We thought that battle was over.
Yes.
You're re-empowering these people. You're bringing them back from the dead, and they're not just gonna get that book out once you put them in power. They're gonna go back to the shit that I remember from when I was growing up, and that's exactly what they did. They didn't just get rid of gender queer and this book is gay, shit that never belonged in a school, not because it's gay, but because it's extremely sexually graphic and explicit. That's up to the parents. If they want their kids to have that, they can buy it, right? Nobody's saying no, but you don't force that on other parents that their children have to have access to that. That's a reasonable position most people would agree with. What happens when you empower people like DeSantis? Well, now they're going after Toni Morrison. Now they're going to go after James Baldwin. Now they are going to go after The Color Purple. Now they are going to go after all these books that are just bad. Now they are going to take out Clockwork Orange from the school. Now they're going to go after these things that are, seminal books that you would want children to be exposed to, because you created the conditions where you made parents so afraid of what you wanted that they turned to whoever they could turn to who was going to put a stop to it. And now here we are. That's what I see with Trump's education plan. Yeah, sure, man. I don't like that postmodernism and DEI, but I think you should go back to a standard of you teach it. You don't make it a ideology in the school, but you teach it as one of many points of view. That's what college should be about. And you let the students decide, do I believe in intersectionality, postmodernism? Is that what I think? Am I more, do I believe more in a classical liberal view of societal harmony? You let them decide. You don't make it the standard. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to go in and they're going to do what DeSantis did once he got power. They're going to go after everything. They're going to gut the curriculum. They're going to shut down speech from the right. It's just going to be the other problem.
Yep. Hillary Hinton, Russ, after you read the nuclear war book, you should check out When the Wind Blows, the 1986
well, that's a classic
nuclear war cartoon.
No,
Roger
I saw
Waters
that.
did the music.
I saw that.
It's Watership Down for people who don't despise people. There you go.
Yeah, I remember that. I saw that back in the 80s.
Siddhartha Vicious, Beyond the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon was a great horror mockumentary. Thank you.
I saw that. Yeah, that was good.
Mega 8-Man, with all the nuclear war talk and good suggestions on post-nuclear war fiction books, I recommend A Canonical for Leibowitz. Thank you. I'm so pumped right now for the season finale. YOLO. There you go, Bonzo Beans. Enjoy it. Absolutely. All righty. Let's take one more. We've got two more YouTube super chats here. Oscar for Best Picture goes to RFK eating a Big Mac. There you go. Michael Castillo says the funniest horror movie was Zombie Strippers with Robert Englund as the strip club owner. Jenna Jameson
that was funny.
Was a zombie.
Yeah, I love Robert Englund.
Fun stuff.
What a legend.
All right. Well, Misty, tell people where they can find you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
I don't do shows anymore right now. I occasionally, I'm on Twitter a lot, as we already talked about, more than I should be. But right now I'm not doing any shows. I keep trying to convince myself to come back. But honestly, I can't get motivated to do it. I hate, first of all, I hate the hustle of it. I'm terrible at self-promotion. I don't like asking people to support me or watch me or do any of that stuff. I'm very bad at it. So I've never been comfortable doing that. I also hate all of the stupid interpersonal podcaster beef. Like, I don't give a shit if you don't like Jimmy Dore. I don't care if you don't like Jackson Hinkle. And I don't care. And it feels like when you're in this space, it's like a constant barrage of people trying to drag you into other people's beefs. And I just don't give a shit. And also it's exhausting. And as we talked about, like, I feel a lot less stressed these days because I don't have to follow it as closely as I was. I still follow it, obviously. But it's not, I mean, when you're doing a daily show or whatever, you have to be in it, like fully entrenched in the bullshit. And it's a lot, especially right now. The Gaza stuff has been really overwhelming for me.
Well, I mean, that's a thing, is like, there's been so much to cover. We haven't done any of that stuff in a while. In a year, I mean, probably over a year. I can't think of the last time where we covered some stupid bullshit like that, because the times are just too serious for it. But anyway, we will remain in touch. Everybody follow Misty at Sarcasm Stardust on Twitter, and we will hear more from you soon. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Misty. Good seeing you.
Yeah, of course. You too. Thanks, guys.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye. Misty Winston, everybody.
There's some discussion about my talking with my hands. Jews and Italians talk with their hands. That's why Keaton only talks with his left hand.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Well, I have my right hand is on the keyboard, and so when I'm
That's it. It's his Jewish half.
Yeah, this is my half. This is why I gesture with this hand and I control the show with this hand right here. That's how that goes. All right, everybody. Well, hey, we got a couple quick ones over on Rumble. We're going to do a Dana Bash segment and then a little fun Rachel Zegler thing that Russell thought would be fun to do. But then we're obviously doing the Q&A. That's the main reason why we're switching. So we got a little more show left, not much, but we think you'll enjoy these next two pieces that we have for you over on the Rumble side. There will be a 5-minute intermission as we switch over there. So dodissidents.com/Rumble. That link takes you directly to the rest of the show, which will be exclusively on Rumble. That takes you to the rest of this live stream. We will take the rest of our Rumble rants over there on the Rumble side, so don't worry, we did not forget about you. But we're going to be taking a 5-minute intermission now, switching over to Rumble.
Look, a lot of love for Misty in the chat.
Oh, of course, Misty's great. There's always a lot of love for Misty in the chat. She's a very popular figure. People say very good things. People are saying great things about Misty Winston. They always do.
Everybody's saying this should be the Misty Winston show.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. Well, folks, like I said, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We have a couple of short segments to do over there, but we think you'll enjoy them. And then we're going to go to the talk.
So for the intermission this week, I'm setting up the Rachel Zegler segment because we've done 2 prior Rachel Zegler segments. So to give you some what the backstory is of this beef, I took a couple of clips from that for the intermission.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you over there in 5 minutes. Thanks to Jake in the booth. Everybody from YouTube, migrate over to Rumble right now. We have a good crowd filing in over there, 2,200 strong in the Rumble chat. All righty, folks. 2 segments over there on Rumble, plus your phone calls. That all starts in 5 minutes. Until then, thanks very much for being here tonight. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.